Podcast, TruthSeekah's podcast. Buckle up, everyone. We're going to talk aliens, UFOs, ghosts, spiritual and paranormal. From all of the three moons, beyond your wildest dreams. Dear Tommy. Nice.
TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark savage.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. Excited and delighted to be with you guys again today for another exciting episode, man. I want to say huge thank you to all of the Patreon supporters, everybody who believes in the work, who has partnered with me in this venture of the TruthSeekah Podcast, this whole universe, the music, the meditations, the book, the Thursday night School of the Mystics, all of that kind of stuff. People who are supporting this thing, making it a reality. If you'd like to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music. 200 plus songs. Do not forget about the music. It's there. I don't promote it as much. It just kind of does its own thing, but it's there. Make sure you guys check it out if you haven't yet. You get, again, access to the Thursday night School of the Mystics, which is our Thursday night hangout, the community aspect to what we're building here with the podcast, and a bunch of really cool stuff. Make sure you check it out. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Also, my new book is available at TruthSeekah.com. Angels, Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. It is here. A bunch of really cool stuff there. You can get access to everything at just TruthSeekah.com. All of it's there. And we have another men's retreat coming up here in April. I think it's April the 18th. All the info is at TruthSeekah.com, the website. So if you're looking to get in on the second men's retreat that we're doing, going out into nature and getting with some like-minded individuals, and the beds are filling up quick. There's only 7 slots. I think we have 4 left. So all the info is at TruthSeekah.com if you want to get up and come spend the night and hang out with me in the woods, man. It's going to be fun. It's good stuff. Change your life. Never forget. Never forget. I'm going to go ahead and jump into today's discussion, today's episode. My friend who had me on her show a couple weeks ago, Marlene Pardo. Marlene, how you doing? Welcome to the TruthSeekah Podcast, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure, but it was my pleasure to have you as a guest, and likewise to appear on your show.
We tried to do this several months back. Yeah. I'm looking at I was looking through our emails, and it was like middle of last month when we first last year when we first connected. And I was like, wow, it's been so long. And we tried to make it happen, but it was when the devil had control of my internet.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I tell everybody, so there's such a thing as paranormal sabotage, which is where just things don't work out. And no matter how hard you're making it try to work. And I'm talking from scheduling all the way to electronics. Yeah. And I know what you mean.
Yeah. Doing this stuff for this long, you find out that you're at the mercy of all types of other energies. But it's so funny too, because like we'll put that out there because you wanted to talk about, well, I want to talk about the paranormal and all these stories and things that you've experienced and people you've interviewed, but you wanted to talk about the psychology behind it too, and the mind and hypnosis and things like that, which are all linked together. And just speaking of this, like things not working out, the juju tied with it, because I just remember even last week having some talks with some friends. They're trying to, and I go through this all the time, like building in a certain direction, trying to make something happen, and nothing's working. Like they're running into blockages, nobody's responding. So they look to the divine. Well, maybe God doesn't want me doing this. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, just because it hasn't taken off yet. You know, and we kind of like tie that to the divine telling us no. God said no because you got 7 views on your podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing.
And I think that there's 2 aspects to that, what you're talking about. And I think everybody's experienced it, or personally, or you hear people. And I think there's 2 things. You want to look at the psychological aspect. And I study the subconscious a lot. Sometimes people sabotage themselves through their subconscious in a lot of weird ways. Yeah. That's not apparent. And they'll be asking themselves that same question you just said, man, I'm trying so hard and this is not happening. It's not working. Or they do something that kind of dooms them to fail. And it's either, believe it or not, they're afraid of being successful, because then their comfort zone is where they're at. And if they succeed even a little bit, that unknown area, that is very scary to a human being's subconscious. Their logical mind tells them, hey, I want to succeed, I want to go forward. But subconsciously, they don't. They're afraid of what comes with it, especially success. They sabotage themselves. That's a psychological aspect as far as what we do to ourselves. This, per se, has nothing spiritual or mystical to it. The flip side of it is that one of the things that I've experienced personally is when you're going down the right road, if you want to say angels guide you, doors open for you. Doors open for you. It's the opposite of what you're describing. The obstacles are not there. You meet the right person. You get the right phone call. And I'm going to throw something in. Sometimes people want certain things, and it's got to be that thing that they've imagined or they prayed for. It's got to be that way. And they don't leave room, whether it's their expectations or their prayers, for something better. But sometimes we lock ourselves into this mindset that's got to be that way or that outcome. And maybe there's something better for you, and you got to let go a little bit. How's that? You got to maybe ask for something, pray for something, but then you got to step back and let maybe something else that might be even better step in, because you're limiting yourself. So, I mean, there's a lot of angles to that scenario.
Yeah, I know, right? You think, I mean, you tied in self-sabotage. That's a big one, you know, of like wanting it so bad, but then we get it. You know, we're scared. It's a new environment, and then we just burn bridges and self-sabotage because it feels different. We're not comfortable there. It's a new territory, and relationships get severed and stuff too with it, because it brings about all these different ideas. But it almost seems like too, it's like all of this stuff stems from just a shift in consciousness. You know, of like, is God for me or is God against me? Are the angels here to help me or are the demons out to get me? Right? This whole shift in consciousness shifts your perspective and what you bring in to your reality, right? It's just shifting, changing the way that you look at things, and then the things that you look at change, right?
Well, it's, how they say, do you see the universe as hostile or friendly? Okay. And it's much easier. Let's blame God instead of blaming myself. It's called,
or the devil. Or the devil.
The devil. The devil's working against me. And by this, I'm not saying that sometimes there is interference or spiritual turbulence that comes from that. And I'm not saying no. But sometimes it's much easier to lay the blame on that versus saying, I did stuff. Consciously, subconsciously, sometimes not obviously, by the way. Most of the time it's not. Exactly like what you said. If I start going in the direction of being successful, believe it or not, your subconscious mind will anticipate or know, like you said, end of relationships. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a significant other. It could be friendships. It could be even the place you work. And your subconscious extrapolates and goes, if you get successful or you start going into that, all of these things around you will have to fade away. You might even have to consciously make the decision to sever the cord. And that scares most people.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be a shifting. There is going to be a changing, right? I mean, most people say that you change, right? When you start a new job, right. Things change. Circumstances and situations change like the wind sometimes, and people are used to consistency. We want the same thing. I could see that in my own life of wanting something to be constant, right? We need stability, and stuff is ever changing. So stepping into those new seasons and the transitions can be hard, especially when people already have you in a box and they already have you figured out. They know your schedule, but when you change, whether it's getting a new job or stepping into, becoming successful or whatever it is, they say, oh, well, you changed. And it's not that you've changed for the bad, but in their eyes, you have. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not meeting their needs like you used to. You're stepping out of that mold, and maybe you don't have as much time as you used to. That's a big one for me. Like, I used to stay on the phone with friends for like 8 hours, 9 hours while I was a truck driver. I have my earpiece and I talk to them all day. And now I'm lucky if I talk to them once a week. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, hey, man, you changed. Now you're big time. It's like, no, like if I'm talking to you, that means I'm not creating or I'm not working, because it's changed up now. Now I just can't passively talk. So people would look and say, oh, you don't have time for us anymore, in those kind of situations.
And people usually take that as a negative. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people that I want to say success. But when I mean success, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be celebrity status. A lot of times success, whatever, escapes them because they get held back by that conversation you had. Their friends saying, and I don't want to say that they do it purposely, with that I care, hold you back.
Yeah.
You're changing. Like when you just said, oh, now you're big time, like you're too good for us, that kind of deal. And some people really are scared of falling into being that person. And they never let go. Again, it's also easier to say, blame it on that. I don't want to be thought of as the guy that, hey, forgot where he came from.
Yeah, because it comes with it. Yeah, it definitely comes with it. I definitely had to experience it on many levels, and then you have to examine yourself. Am I changing? Am I becoming the douchebag?
Which is not a bad thing, by the way. There's nothing wrong with changing.
Exactly. But you want to change for the good. You want to change for the good. You want to make sure that you're doing that.
Yes. There are times we change. Sometimes change comes in, like I say, plunk us like a 2x4. And then there's other times that it's gradual, but I think that we run into problems when we really hold on and we dig in our heels. And it's like, I'm sure you've had that experience when you start a new job, you feel really uncomfortable. Like you don't know anybody, you don't know your boss, and you're like, man, I want to go home and go to sleep. And I say, sometimes that's good because that uncomfortableness means you're pushing out your horizons. That's fine. Don't worry. You'll get through it. You might feel even anxious. Don't worry, your anxiety is going to peak, and then you're going to come down. And then you know what? A month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, depending on what you do, it's like it's all good. You're okay.
Yeah.
But some people, that anxiety or that I don't know anybody and what are they saying and I don't know what I'm doing, they can't. They just cannot handle it. It's like write it out, and it's like everything, not the job. A lot of things when you're doing something new. And you're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. What is this? And you're like, maybe I should just stop. And sometimes it's you yourself not wanting to deal with that uncomfortable thing called change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things behind it. And again, and then there's another aspect, which you mentioned, which is when there's something, pardon the pun, coming out of left field, which is interfering with your best laid plans or your best efforts towards something.
Yeah, and the anxiety, the butterflies in the stomach, that's good because like eventually it's gonna go away. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was working on the job, and we'd have guys come down from corporate. And then so everybody's on their best behavior. The way we work, we want to make sure we're doing everything by the books, and loading our trucks was what we were doing, and sorting parts and stuff. And everybody was like, when the guy from corporate, there was a level of respect, you know, and shaking their hand and being real professional and stuff like that. Everybody was just walking a fine line, and I was too, and I'm shaking their hand. Hey, how's it going? I'm there, you know. And then the guy had to ride with me from corporate. He rode with me, and I was with him for like 14 hours one day. And we get in the truck, and he lets loose. He's telling dirty jokes, and
you're just, like, wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, he's like, hey, you could speed up some. And I'm like kind of nervous because they're like judging your driving. And then he's like a regular guy. We get back to the office, and then the next day he comes in. And he's like, hey, what's up, TruthSeekah? He's calling me my rap name, and everybody else is still like walking on eggshells around this guy. But I'm like, man, this guy puts his pants on one leg at a time. So it killed that weird facade that I had around this person, that everybody else is still scared because of this position or notoriety or whatever. So that was really weird, you know. And that happens a lot with jobs and people and stuff, you know. When stuff's new and scary, you know?
Yeah, but some people, that uncomfortableness, they think they can't take it. Some people feel like anxious, and it's like, don't worry, the anxiety is not going to kill you. It's not. And it'll gradually go away, maybe a little by little every day, you know. And then there'll come a point where you can't even remember that you feel uncomfortable. Same thing as when you start school, you know, when you're a kid and all those things. But a lot of people, and I'm talking about when you start trying to go forward in any field of life, whatever it might be, that they don't want to deal with that change, that uncomfortableness. And I want to say, a lot of people, you know, when they get it when they're really old, you know, when they say when you're old, you have regrets, they look back and they go, why didn't I do that? You know, when you're old and you realize some of the things that you thought really mattered don't matter, you know.
Time heals all.
Well, you know what? You look at things that at that moment you thought were huge, monumental. Yeah. Why didn't I, you know, the risk seemed so huge that you back down from it. And when you're old, you look back and you go, why didn't I just try it? You know, why didn't I just do it? That regret kind of thing. And by this, I mean, you know, calculated risk. I'm not saying don't be stupid either. But after, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, what I call the execute. You know, a lot of people plan, they research, they run around, you know, and they measure, and you know, they do, and then they never execute.
I hate that. You know? Our biggest enemy as creatives, it's our biggest enemy. Yes. Consistency and execution.
Let me tell you something about execution. You run across that in a lot of things in your life. Okay, there's so many that you talk yourself out of it, and you kind of feel good because, you know, that was really, the time's not right, or, you know, I figured out, or, you know, I read this blog that said this really negative. You know, they'll put off, and they never do the E word. There's a point, and this is, I think, where faith comes in, where you got to do it. You got to jump. You got to like say, okay, worst case scenario. Okay, well, I'm going to do it because I'm going to bank that I did my homework. And there's just a point that I can't plan or research anymore, or wait for the perfect time. You know, that the fortunate time is not, you know, that excuse that people have, the timing is not good. You know what? There's times that you've got to do it and do what is called the E word, execute. And because otherwise, again, you will always have all the excuses. Well, you know what? Once upon a time, I thought of doing that, but you know, it wasn't a good time or whatever. Blah, 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 blah. And that's all you got at the end of your life is excuses. But I think that kind of cheats us. We cheat ourselves out of the human experience.
Yeah.
I think we do that.
Yeah, stepping out of the comfort zone, you know. And there's a quote I read on Facebook today, I think it was. It says, pretty much said, a ship is safe on the shore, but it wasn't created to be there. It was created to sail, you know. But it's safe as long as you stay here, you're good. As long as I stay at this job that I've been at for 10 years, 15 years, I'm good. I'm good. But it's not what I was created for. I was created for much more. I was created to sing. I was created to create an album, write a book, start a podcast, you know, go to another job and just try it, put in that application, you know, but it's scary. We don't execute on it. We have all these ideas. And I think that when you when you're plagued by those ideas, you have to step out. It's like begging you to step out, right? If you want to say it's God or the universe or whatever, it's like beckoning you to, hey, come on, man, the water's right, but I know you're scared, but get through it, you know?
Well, you hear a lot of people, historically speaking, that have been successful. And then, in the autobiography or biographies, they'll say, they had all these, failures, or if you're a creator, stuff that wasn't good. But we look at it like overall, because we have the availability of seeing that person's life in totality, that at the end they were, but that day to day, do you know how that person might have felt when they had those things that just didn't turn out good? And it's like, yeah, but we want somebody to hold our hand and say, what if I guarantee you at the end of everything will be okay?
Mm-hmm.
How would you handle it? If right now I could say, whatever it is that you're going to try to do, whatever it is, I guarantee you in the end, everything will work out and you'll be a success. People will be like falling over themselves, like, okay, do it. I'll do that. Because it's, again, that fear of failure or of overcoming it and trying again. And again, I'm going to say, and that thing that, and I'm going to say nowadays, because we have so much access to people, people think that spotlight of failure will forever be on you. And at the end of the day, people don't remember. So you flubbed something. It didn't work out right. It was kind of bad. Okay. And I'm talking here from the creator. If you're creating something, guess what? That spotlight is not going to be on you forever and ever. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, most people are so into their thing that's momentary. The only one that's like carrying on, going, oh my God. And you lash yourself with it is you. It's like,
yeah,
oh, that was not a good thing.
You start airing stuff out. I've seen people do that on social media, and I've tried not to. Maybe some of it slips out just because I'm so open. But I've seen people like give their trolls and their accusers a platform.
Yeah.
And they will introduce their community and their following, their fan base, to stuff that nobody knows about, but these couple trolls are inboxing them or making videos that nobody's seeing, and then they'll start talking about it and sharing and say, hey, look what they did. And now we're all looking into it because like you said, you're the only one that's, to you, this is, oh man, they're trying to get me, and all these people are plotting out on me, and it's really like 2 people. But in your mind, it's like, oh man, it's all of these people who are trying to end you. And then you give them a platform and now everybody knows about it. Part of me kind of feels like I've seen some people do it and it's almost like they just want the attention. Like they want to share it. Maybe it's a pity party. Maybe it's a woe is me. Maybe, hey, I'm under attack, guys. Look, help me or something, right? When people share it out. Because I know people, they're known for share, like when somebody sends them a mean message or makes fun of them, they'll screenshot it and that's their Instagram post. So it kind of like welcomes that, and they're known for showing off these mean comments and stuff that they get, right? Versus like, I like to silence them. I like to say, hey, you're not gonna hijack my platform, and versus screenshot, hey, everybody, look what they said to me. Every now and then, I just let people know that it's out there, but some of it is like, we're giving them a voice and allowing them to take credit for
what they do when you react or control them. If you ignore somebody, we'll use that instance, we could apply it to when somebody says something to get you to react, because believe it or not, for these people there's nothing worse than being ignored. I'm not gonna ignore you. I'm not even gonna debate with you. I'm not even gonna open. I'm not even gonna accept myself. That's worse, because once you react, they have gotten control. They made you react. And then, of course, if you do what you just described, which is defend yourself or point them out, look what they did, look what they said, they're in there. Whether they realize it or not, they've got control. They've gotten to you. They've reached the wall.
For sure. Okay?
Whereas if you ignore them, it's like, yeah, all right, okay, whatever. What was your name?
Yeah.
For people like that, and like you said, eventually they fade away and they move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
That will react, defend themselves, basically see them.
Yeah.
Because up to that point, they're invisible. And that's what you do in those cases. And I hate to say it, in our world where that happens a lot with the trolls, that's exactly what you do. You just ignore them. Like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's what they want. They're trying to get you to respond. And
Yes.
and I've seen people, and I've done it to other people, like back in the day, just joking, like saying, because the mean comment is going to get them to jump or to lash out, and even though they were joking about it, and I was like, oh, I didn't really mean that. I really love what you got going on. We're like, well, why would you say that? And people have told me I said that because I knew that you would respond. I was like, oh, so you had to, punch below the belt to get me to respond, and they just want a reaction. So, you feeding, don't feed the trolls, you know what I'm saying? Don't give them the attention that they seek. Make them build their own platform and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to piggyback off of what you've done.
That's going to get into a dialogue with them, the back and forth or whatever. Or like you said, or somebody that's going to start going out there to their audience and saying, yeah, look at what this person has said. All of a sudden, this person who was unknown, okay, gets a bunch of eyes on them, and they're like, yeah, that's what I wanted all along.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, and I hate to say it, how many celebrities nowadays do you know that are famous because of notoriety? That's it. That's their only talent. They're notorious. If you look at their talents, they really don't have any per se. Okay, they're just notorious. And usually how they got there was they stepped up the ladder of saying outrageous things to people that had some type of recognition, audience, whatever. And then, they just climbed the ladder up. And it's like, well, if you want to do it, but you're not going to do it on my back.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and it's getting bigger and bigger now, especially on YouTube and stuff, the reaction videos where you don't have to create content, you just do commentary on someone else's work, critiquing the work, making fun of the work, being impressed by the work. Now you have to be an entertainer and get the people laughing or get them involved,
right,
and say little witty stuff. But as far as like you're getting big off of doing commentary on other people's music or current events or whatever, which is really, really strange. And even in the Christian realm, there's a bunch of that too. I call them, people have like a exposing ministry where they say so-and-so exposed. And so their whole platform is pointing out what you're doing wrong versus them creating something beautiful that didn't exist. Original. All they can do is piggyback off of what you've done, but they're becoming popular. Like people tune in. They love, just because the person has a personality or they're funny or maybe they, other people resonate with the cause. A bunch of people who are against what you're doing, it's catching on now, and there's a lot of people with these. I mean, millions of subscribers. And this is the thing, when you're a creator, there's a lot of work behind the scenes to produce, to create. Oh, for
and like
sure.
you said, they're doing, you're doing the heavy lifting, and they're the ones that are getting the views or whatever the case might be, whatever it is that they're doing. Yes, and that's unfortunate that is. But and we go in here into the psychology of, there's a point where you realize I cannot control these people. You can't. People sometimes get really frustrated and anxious because, let's say you got somebody that's attacking you or doing something. You can't, unless, let's say, they're using your material, for example. But if, there's something where if they're critiquing it, blah, 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 fair use, whatever. But there comes a point where you cannot control everybody. And people get frustrated. And there's a point you got to let go, pray, wait, hope for the best, and say, you know what? I know eventually you're going to go down in flames, whatever. And get them burn out, because you cannot control everybody. You can't. And that goes, whether it's what you described or even in our personal lives, you can't control everybody. As a matter of fact, really, in reality, the only one you can control is yourself and maybe your children when they're small. That you can't, you stop them from going out the front door. But outside of that, that's it. And once we get to that realization that, because sometimes when we feel that we can control, it makes us feel safer, more grounded, stops the anxiety. And when things are out of control and people are doing and saying things and you're like, what is this? Let it go. Once you let go of that responsibility and go, that's it. It's like, man, wow, that's a weight off my shoulders. And again, like everything, you have to calculate how much of an impact this person is really, truly. There's a lot of, and that's one thing I have to say, especially nowadays, things are very fleeting. Attention is very fleeting when it comes to things like that. Like you said, now they've got 1 million views, but a year from now, nobody would even remember their name.
Yeah.
But in that moment, they're like, wow. it's very fleeting. You know, that kind of thing. It comes quick and easy, and it disappears just the same way.
Yep, for sure. Talk a little bit about your podcast. How many podcasts do you have?
I want to say, because I have like a series of podcasts. I have Stories of the Supernatural from Miami Ghost Chronicles, which is where I interview people. I've got over 500 of that. I also do a podcast, another podcast series, which is Supernatural Storytime. And there I read people's stories or the experiences they've had with the supernatural, the paranormal. I've been receiving emails since like the early 2000s of people that would send me emails, and I kept them. And then there's Nightshade Diary, which is I read podcasts. These are like classic ghost stories, adventure stories, some of the newer ones, maybe some Stephen King short stories, you know, for people that, you know, this is your free audiobook thing. That's just me. I got like that going on. But yeah, I interview a lot of people because since I've been doing that, the paranormal work for so long, I know a lot of people that I knew that weren't doing it don't do that anymore. And I tell everybody, most people don't realize that in this work, there comes a point that you burn out. Okay. Especially when you run across experiences with dark hauntings, malevolence, things of that nature. I think there's something that your soul says you need to step away. In other words, your how long you can do that without imperiling yourself is there's an expiration date on that. And I do a lot of consulting. I get a lot of phone calls from groups, people that know me from across the United States that will ask me about certain things. But I very rarely do I do an investigation now. Number one, I'm really busy. Number two, because I want to say, like, especially now with the advent of the paranormal reality shows, you get a lot of people that it's like when you're doing an investigation, it's like, okay, you guys, all you got is a lot of good imagination. Yeah, it's great. And then you come across stuff where people are really, and sometimes it's a legitimate haunting, and then there's other things that are very dark. I have found a lot of stuff where, yeah, there's something in the house, but people have been having problems that's attached to them. And like I said, even when I was doing hypnotherapy and alternatives, I dealt with spiritual attachments, okay? And this is something that follows you around. In other words, it doesn't matter where you live, you're going to run into a problem, okay? I've seen that, and I've dialogued with spirits that are attached to people. Sometimes they're human spirits, and sometimes they're not, okay? But like I said, there comes a point where you have to step back at it a little bit from it, because how can I say, and I'm going to give you an example. I tell everybody, most hardcore investigators, I knew that I was going to get a case, or that a case was legitimate, because before I even went on the investigation, I would have things happen or see things around where I lived. As a matter of fact, and I tell everybody, I used to have my other property, my office used to be like a detached garage, and I had built it like a little office. And on the side, I used to have, you know, those frosted glass on the window. And I used to have a little alleyway, like where I used to put my trash cans and stuff in, but nobody would normally be there. It would just look out in my backyard. That's where I would work from, because it was quiet. And you don't know how many times I would see a shadow flitting back and forth, somebody walking back there. And when a lot of times I would say, because that's the only window I had there, I was like, I'm going to get a case. Or if I had gotten a case, I know, okay, there's something up here. Because if you think that spiritual turbulence, or whether it's an intelligent haunting or whatever's going on, it's going to wait for you to get there, I got news for you. It doesn't. It comes to check you out and interfere, depending on what's going on, or ask for help, by the way. Sometimes you legitimately have a human soul that was trapped, that needed to be crossed over, needed to be helped, okay? And they don't wait for you to show up. That's what I'm saying. Most people that truly have done paranormal work, it doesn't really start when you drive up to wherever you're going. They come to see you. And there comes a point, you know, which is your original question, why I'm just doing the podcast and interviewing people, because I've been doing it for so long that I said, I need to step back from this, because as a matter of fact, when I was doing the hypnotherapy, I used to have people come to that office, which was at my house. And after a while, and then I moved to this other property where I'm at now, and where I'm sitting now, it used to be my office as well. And I used to bring my clients here. There come a point that I said, this is not smart. I got to stop this. And I'm not talking about safety as in physical, safety. I did it because it was bleeding over into my personal life. And you have to have really strong boundaries, because a lot of people, despite what they see in these paranormal reality shows, like, oh, that's so much fun. You go to these weird places, and there's not all the time, but there's an inherent spiritual danger involved in this work. And anybody who underestimates that is in for a very rude awakening, and an awful one, by the way.
Yeah. Can fascination with that stuff, and can that open up doors, especially not knowing what you're doing, to like demonic possession and things like that?
Absolutely.
Hauntings coming back with you, like you go to a place and come back, and now the thing is attached, or other things that are similar is attached because you're an open vessel.
Yes. One of the things I tell people, like attracts like. In the metaphysical realm, like attracts like. Okay. If you're an angry person, okay. If you're a sad person, and I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're a normal person, but you're going through something in your life, and you might be really sad. Maybe you're a little bit depressed. And I'm very careful about using the word depressed, because I look at it from the clinical point of view. You can be sad, doesn't mean you're depressed. Okay. If people want to go from 0 to 60, we're human beings. It's okay to be sad, and it doesn't mean depression as in clinical depression. But let's say something going on in your personal life where you're really sad it's not like an overnight sadness. You've been sad, a loss of a job, a relationship. You're sad and you're dealing with it. Sometimes it opens you up when you go, let's say, on an investigation or someplace where you become the target. Your defenses are down, even on a spiritual level. Or you're an angry person, So, yes, it's likes attracts like. And you were saying that you could have an attachment from that. Okay, there's different levels of attachments, whether it's influence of oppression, infestation, obsession, to outright possession. Okay, normally if you're okay and something tries to influence you, they might hang around, and you might get like a weird, let's say you come back from one of these places. For a couple of days, you're thinking stuff that's like, man, that's not like really weird, maybe sometimes horrific stuff. Like, what is that? But then you dismiss it, and then it goes away. Or you'll say something, man, why did I say that? That's really bad. And then it goes away, because depending on your lifestyle, your spiritual, how you are spiritually. And by this, I'm not saying in any direction. I'm just saying that it goes away because it just cannot get in. That attachment is not able to surpass what it is. But if you're not there, that you could get a very, very horrible attachment, especially, let me tell you something. When you have a spirit that's not in the presence of the divine, okay, let's go with the human spirit. That spirit is normally angry, frustrated. The worst human characteristics are there, either because they're out of the presence of divine, or they were that kind of human being to begin with. Okay, and that's where you get a lot of people like it. If people think it's only demonic, you could have an attachment from a really bad person that was just a bad human being. Nothing per se as far as they're non-human, but and then I've had attachments where people start after a while assuming the characteristics and doing things that really has to do with the attachment or the interference from that spirit. Yeah. It's a very slippery slope, and like you said, the fascination with that right there is your first, that you have to like pull yourself back and go, okay. And that's the thing that I tell everybody. Some people think of the fascination with the paranormal like, okay, what they see in the movies. Weird stuff, furniture flies through the air. That's not the way it works sometimes. It will unravel your life little by little. Okay? It might even take weeks, months, years. I've seen it that the point of origin was that spiritual attachment. Where somebody has an okay life, all of a sudden, it starts sliding. God forbid you're on the precipice of not doing that well, it will push you over. And sometimes, you know how it works? I tell everybody, it's the little voice, that little push to push you over the edge. It doesn't have to be that major, you know, like that full-blown possession, you know, your head spins around. No. All you need is to do the one horrible thing, that you get that voice or that little moment of madness, for lack of a better word, when you do it. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And then it's downhill from there. Then, of course, that's when you see people that they fall then into real depression, hopelessness, isolation, so on and so forth. Some people can blame it on mental illness. And by the way, one thing, you can have both things. Some people say, oh, either it's spiritual attachment or it's a mental illness. No, you can have both. You can have a behavior disorder. And this thing is making you 100 times worse than you would be without that interference. So, I mean, there's that fascination. You have to be really, really careful, because I want to say that it's been, I don't want to say, I mean, I know it's fun when you think of a haunted house or these people that are legend tripping, but you have to be really careful, because people don't realize that sometimes you get more than what you bargained for.
Yeah. What are some of the most convincing or intriguing stories that you've read, testimonies that you've got, experiences that you know to be true, whether they're your own or whether you've read them from other people? Like, I have both. I have my own experiences, you know, but then I know other people's stuff. But what is some of the meat and potatoes of, whether it's aliens, demons, spirits, angels that came through, and just, you know, stories in them, you know what I'm saying? When the veil is thin and they cross over to the side, what are some of the most intriguing experiences that you've heard of?
Oh, God, I have so many. All right.
I know. You know,
I'm going to give you for instance. This is a young guy. He came originally to me for hypnotherapy to stop smoking. He was smoking, and then, by the way, this guy had his life together. He had a great job. He was maybe mid-20s. He was doing good. He was his job, everything in his life. And he came to me and he asked me, you know, to stop smoking. Which, by the way, a lot of the people that eventually did alternative hypnosis with me started coming in for regular stuff, weight control, stop smoking, once we got the trust thing going on. So one time he calls me up and he says, look, I need to see you about something. I said, sure, what is it? And he says, look, I have this problem where I don't usually drink, but when I go out on the weekends with my friends, I have a couple of drinks, I black out and I start doing stuff, crazy stuff. He says, I wreck stuff. I've run across highways. My friends are starting to get scared of going out with me and I can't remember it. He says, they're telling me, yeah, you did this and you did that. And he says, and I can't remember it. And he says, and it doesn't take that much alcohol. And I'm not a drinker. It's not like somebody that was having blackouts because, hey, you're drinking so much that you're having blackouts. And of course you don't remember. He says, my friends are like, man, we're and going out with you is like, he says he had wrecked places. And I said, okay, well, he goes, there's something going on, whatever. He's just telling me that he's felt stuff like maybe since he was 12 or 13. He said, okay, let's find out. So I put him under hypnosis, and this is and what's really funny is usually I used to have another hypnotherapist in the room with me. And that day she couldn't be there. But since I already knew him from before, I said, sure, come on over. All right. Well, I put him under, and guess what? He had a demonic attachment. And this thing starts making his body go, talking to me in a voice that was not his. Okay. And by the way, when you put somebody under hypnosis and everything, and this was not like somebody off the street that I had no idea who they were. And you could tell, there's certain things that you could tell. And thankfully, it was a low-grade demonic attachment, which meant it wasn't that really intelligent. It was just really malevolent. And basically, it turns out that this thing was interfering. The attachment had come because he was working in the field of legally to stop human trafficking. And this thing was trying to sabotage what he was doing in his regular work.
Yeah.
Okay. Because at some point I was like, okay, how does this happening? And then, because believe it or not, there comes a point that they will talk to you. They do correspond back to you. And now, before any, when I do this work, I call on angelic help. Okay. I do call on angelic help and protection, and they're there. And they're either going to leave one way or the other, voluntarily, or they're going to be taken out. It's like, this is not like, oh, you don't want to go, because of course you're not going to want to go. But I've seen transformation of like that, of people with attachments. And the reason why I pointed that out is that, again, people think that when you have a demonic attachment, you're acting weird. Okay. All the time. Like you got to stand on your head like that. Sometimes people can be acting kind of normal or from the outside look like they have a normal life going on. And then stuff like this will happen. And basically what that thing was trying to do was, at some point, that he would do something so outrageous that he would end up getting arrested and then derail what he was doing. Because he was, at that point, he was working with some attorneys that were legally working to stop human trafficking. Yeah. And he was thinking of himself, he was studying eventually to become an attorney specializing in that area. Okay, which is, by the way, it's a very intense type of work. It is. All right, and that's a whole thing as far as, you want to talk about demonic activity, human trafficking, that right there is the hallmark of it. That whole thing is whatever.
Yeah, and kids in cages and stuff.
Oh, I mean, just everything.
Yeah.
It's because you have to understand, one thing is the smuggling and the other thing is the trafficking. Two different things. You can to traffic somebody, they don't have to have been smuggled. They get trafficked within the United States. The child prostitution. Mm-hmm. Okay, they get taken from one city. Trafficking basically is taking them from one point A to point B for the purposes of whatever it is. Okay, whether sometimes it's prostitution, sometimes it's, believe it or not, it could even be labor. It doesn't necessarily just have to be from a sexual aspect. So he was into that, and this is what this thing was doing. And luckily, like I said, I got it. Well, I asked angels to take it out, and it was. But he became a different person. I used to have like one of those easy chairs, the ones that you pull your feet back up. That's where I would work with my clients at. And he started to his body went like in ways that, and I was thinking, oh my God, Marlene, all the days not to have your helper here, But it was like one of these things that when you're there, you got to handle it. You can't back down. And part of it comes from having enough belief and faith that you're protected from a spiritual or angelic realm. Okay. As to really, in other words, this is when you really, really know if you truly believe in your heart what you say, as far as being protected or believing in angels or calling for the protection of whatever it is, the divine God, whatever is that's in your universe that you feel protects you. This is when you really find out, do you really believe it? Do you? Or do you go, oh, no.
Yeah.
And I tell, a lot of my cases were people that would say, because a lot of times they would end up, especially earlier when, psychic, paranormal investigations was not so popular, people would basically come to you like, you're my last hope. A lot of times I had gone to clergy or anybody from their church, if they have, even people that weren't church going, they would end up in the church asking for help.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a lot of people say, look, they kind of told me that I was crazy or they didn't believe me. And I said, no, they believe you. He goes, no, they don't believe you. I go, yes, they do believe you. They're like, what do you mean? I go, they believe you. They're scared of it. They're scared of it. You come to them with marriage problems, with a kid that's unruly, with some type of crisis, they'll help you. They'll help you.
Yep.
With this, they understand very well, 9 times out of 10, because when you work with people, let's say whether you're a priest or some clergy, you work with people, you kind of figure out who's the ones that are not wound too tight. When somebody walks in there, this person, they're legit. They're describing something they're really scared of. You know that you're telling the truth, but what are you going to tell them? I believe you, but I'm scared. I'm scared of helping you. And this person's going to turn around and say, but wait a minute. You're supposed to be the leader of this church or this congregation. How can you be scared? So the alternative is to kind of be a little bit dismissive or making you think that it's you, or that, you're imagining it, or that. And I go, yeah, they believe it. They don't want to lose face. They don't want to lose face with you. They're like, look at me. Yeah. I go, that, believe it or not, that happens a lot of times. Like I said, I would run across those people that were at their rope's end because who they thought was going to help them because of by the way, this is a spiritual problem. Okay. If you think that you have some type of infestation in your house, whether it's a regular human spirit, a haunting, a residual, something that's just, on a loop, it's normal for you to go seek help from somebody that deals in the spiritual. You don't go to your therapist and go, by the way, I think I have a ghost, like your counselor. I think I have a ghost. I hear these weird sounds or somebody breathing on me when I'm asleep. And your therapist is going to go, okay, well, let me take out my little prescription. I think you need to take this pill. That's not who you go to for that type of help.
Yeah.
And and that's a matter of fact, that's when I wrote one of my books, Supernatural Safety to Paranormal DIY. And in there, I give a lot of ideas and instructions on what to do for people, because people need, that's another thing, people need to be empowered that they can handle this. I tell them there's a couple of instances where I say, hold on, go get the cavalry. So you need help on this. But there's a lot of stuff that people give away their power to easily, and they don't defend themselves on a spiritual level inside their home and will protect their family for themselves. And also that, I mentioned, I think when we were talking the last time, that sometimes people go to places where they're just riskier, depending on the type of work. I hate to say this, but if you're around a lot of people, you go to hospitals, to big crowds, you gotta be real careful what could jump on you. I've had people, when you ask me cases, when people, sometimes you try to figure out what's the point of origin. Was there a triggering event? When did this start happening for you? And, I get people who think, well, and it was like, well, it was, when I went to my friend's funeral, there was a mess of people and there was a lot of people. And after that, really? And what else? And then you backtrack. And it's something they picked up at some of these places that jumped ship and came home with them. And like I said, it's incremental. Okay. And then, it carries on. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but the fascination part, absolutely. That's like, come on down. Yeah, sure. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to give you an invitation. That's another thing. A lot of these entities, especially if they are non-human, they're waiting for an invitation. People don't realize an invitation is not like us, RSVP. An invitation can be exactly like what you said. I'm fascinated with you. I want to communicate with you, kind of. And guess what? When you're ready, like when you're really scared and it's something you hear scratching under your bed and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this no more. It's like too late.
Yeah.
We took you up on the investigation thing. So, yeah.
I remember when I was in my dark night and dealing all type of crazy witchcraft and opening my mind to spirits, which we talked about on your podcast. Yeah. I called a bunch of churches, like every church in the yellow pages in my area, and I know I called like 15. One of them called me back. Out of 15 churches, I left voicemails. I think it was like on a Saturday. Left the voicemails, and one of those churches called me back. Right. One who was equipped to deal with it or believed in it. Those
guys didn't believe you. They believed you. They believed you. They were like, oh, that call? No. They believed you. They believed you. As a matter of fact, 100%. It wasn't a question of,
it's too hard, too much work.
No, and also too dangerous.
Yeah.
Too dangerous. And spiritually, you're like on that teeter-totter kind of deal. Or you might be pretending to be spiritually okay, but you're not, even though you might be leading a congregation. The last thing you want is to come up against something like that. So, yeah, I bet you a good majority of people that return your call, they believed you.
Some comments in the chat here. A lot of people want to know what all animals you got. We're getting some chat about the animals. So right now, let's see, we got a couple comments. They're saying a parrot, chickens, roosters, birds, and there's a debate if there's some monkeys in there or chimps.
No. Let me tell you, that's about it. I live in a 100-year-old farmhouse, okay? And my office is here. I got like a big wraparound porch, and yes, I've got parrots, a lot of different parrots. I've got 10 dogs, which is probably the monkey you heard.
The dog too, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of chickens and roosters. I got free range ones. I don't call them. I don't kill them. I just use them for eggs. As a matter of fact, that's what I supply most of my area, because the agricultural people that want eggs for their broody hens or their if they got an incubator, I sell the eggs from my chickens. But I got them free range, and I've hand raised most of them. So most of them just, my roosters and and everything, they're always wandering around. I don't have them cooped up. They come and roost but and you can't control animals. Forget it.
And then Adam said, Adam Starseed Bay, he's in the comment. He said, "Wow, all the animals stopped talking when she stopped talking. They got quiet all of a sudden when we mentioned them."
It's really hilarious, because I've gotten to the point that I can only record my podcasts, especially the other ones, when I narrate at night, because everybody quiets down. Oh, and I'm going to tell you, what they were listening to the monkey? They think it's a guinea hen. And he goes, "Bok, bok, 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 bok."
Yeah.
Okay. It's really funny, because at night, most people know birds will start to roost and they quiet down. And they roost and everything. Well, when they hear me talking, for the love of Mike, it'll be 11 o'clock at night, and I'll have my rooster start crowing. And it's like, you guys, they hear my voice and they'll start crowing even if it's nighttime. And it's like, I can't believe this. They kind of they know my voice. I think mostly it's because I feed them.
Yeah.
I know they have some affinity for me, but I'm the food source. I'm the lady with the food.
Yeah.
Yes.
The hand that feeds.
Yeah.
Another question here. Christy wants to know the power of meditation. Where does meditation come into play with spiritual practice and connecting with the divine, and it definitely comes into play with the psyche and with consciousness, right? Kind of getting a game plan and quieting things down. But for you, where does meditation come into play in your studies on that?
Okay, I think that meditation, because everybody thinks of meditation, and I'm going to tell you something, especially nowadays, where we get so attached to computer or being in front of a screen or the TV. And when I mean meditation, it doesn't have to be that you get into a lotus position and go, I think that there's a time that we need on a daily basis, that we empty our mind out, that we and sometimes it's just to think, what's going on in my life? Just no music, by the way. That's very hard. It's very hard. Most people, and I know it. Sometimes when I do it, I start going through, I'm thinking, okay, I'm here. But then I start doing like a mental, and then when I finish this, I'm going to do this and this. And you got to give yourself a few minutes to stop doing that and just empty your mind out and meditate and whatever it is. And you put out and receive, okay? Matter of fact, a lot of inspiration when you do that is when you hear it. And I think our human souls need that, okay? Depending on where you're at, go outside, go someplace, leave the phone behind, no music, no nothing, and just let your mind wander and think about stuff and process things and a lot of, not so much what you think, but what you feel. People confuse those things. What you feel might be totally different from what you're thinking, okay? And basically, feel what you're going to feel, not fight it, and then let some thoughts come forward, and just empty your mind out. And it's a type of meditation. Depending, everybody has different practice of meditation, but I tell people you have got to have that moment apart, and until you get into it, you will fight it, because we're always, I hate to say, we're multitasking all the time. It's like, I'm doing this and I'm already thinking of what I want to do next. That type of and believe it or not, that spiritually gives you it's almost like an all-knowing thing that just, that saying, to thine own self be true. Mm-hmm. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not even your parents, will know you the way you know yourself. Okay, nobody's in your head, nobody's in your skin, like yourself. And it's those moments where you start learning about you, the good and the bad, the ugly, whatever, what I call the perfection of imperfection. Okay, and you acknowledge it. And by the way, this is the time also where you start learning self-talk to yourself. Don't talk to yourself the way some people talk to themselves. In other words, cut yourself some slack and be kind to yourself. That inner dialogue, whether it's that meditation, maybe you did something stupid that day. Instead of like, it's like, man, I made a mistake. I shouldn't do that again. Well, let me think about what happened. And I mean, nobody has to learn it. And believe it, that what I'm saying is meditation can take a lot of forms. And even if you do it for a short amount of time, 10 minutes, depending on what you got, the time you got, you need to do that. I think absolutely you need to do that. And basically you become, I want to say, it's a practice of spiritual self-preservation. That when you do that with the control that you have over the time that you're awake, you're going to do that for yourself.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's really powerful too for all of those reasons, and those are the best ones I like to do. Like you said, just getting every thought out of your mind, and anything that comes in, just getting it out and focusing on nothing. Just sitting in silence, a true silence, mental silence, right? The scriptures talk about like how powerful it is to sit in silence. But, if we're not clearing our mind, we're not truly sitting in silence, are we? Because we got all these other things on our mind that we want to do. Where are we going to eat tonight? What are we doing next weekend? And all these things come into play, and you got to work on silencing the mind. So sitting in silence is so powerful. Believe it or not, a lot of creators, this is also where you get a lot of ideas that filter in. Yep. Okay. Yep. A lot of the good ones, a lot of the ones you should focus on, because the creators, we have so many ideas as it is, but when you go there, it's like, okay, what's the big one? Which one should I focus on? If you think about it, how many times have you gotten a good idea when you wake up, right when you wake up, or when you're taking a shower? Usually when you're kind of like, your mind's emptied out. Subconscious, yep. Or you go like, man, wait a minute, why didn't I think either you have a problem or an idea, all of a sudden it like hits you like, wait a minute, why didn't I think of that? Yep. Is when you empty out your mind from that constant, and by the way, we do it, like I tell everybody, you remember like a circular saw that's always going? Some people never turn off the circular saw. It's always, so you got to turn it off. Yeah. Yep. All right. And let whatever's going to slip in, slip out, think about it, process it. And then you're right. Shower. For me, it's like, cutting grass or jogging or something. Yes. Because you're in somewhere that you can't really escape. Like you have to do it. Whether you're taking a shower, like, it's something that your body knows how to do. And your mind doesn't have to be there, kind of thing. Right. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And then that's when it happens. A lot of time for a lot of people, they talk about using the restroom, sitting on the toilet. They have all these inspirational things come to them when they're not playing on their cell phone. But I've heard like a lot of Christian worship leaders write beautiful worship songs, and they say, how'd you write it? It was like, I was sitting on the toilet, and these words just came to me, when I wasn't preoccupied with something else, Somebody didn't need my attention. It wasn't. That's a lot of people I know. That's why they have a pad and a paper on their nightstand, because they'll wake up and all of a sudden it's like, man, what either a great idea or a solution comes to them. Yeah. And they write it down, or they wake up in the middle of the night sometimes even. Yeah. And they'll go, and it's just like that proverbial light bulb goes off in your head. Yeah. When I was writing the book, I made it a point to get up at like 4:30 every morning, and I'd step outside for a minute, make me a cup of coffee, kind of stargaze, stars were still out, and then I'd sit down and start writing. But I'm not that far out. Like, everybody's still asleep. The world is, at least my area, is more quiet and still right now. And I would just write, and sometimes it would be weird stuff, but I would just be obedient just to get it out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like, I don't know if this fits, but since it's coming to me, I'm putting it in. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Sometimes, though, you get these ideas and you're like, where did this come from? And later on, you figure out what, in other words, it's like, does that make sense at the moment you get it? Or like, whoa. And then later on, it does. Because again, this is the thing. Your subconscious mind is really weird, and it talks to you in symbols. Yeah. Okay. If I tell you the word trash can, you don't see the word trash can, you see a trash can in your mind. That's how your mind works. That's how it talks to you in symbols, depending on what the symbol means to you. Only you. Okay, so sometimes you'll get these ideas, and the symbology, sometimes you don't have to take it literally. It's like, what is it there really? It's and I hate to say it, sometimes the subconscious mind does it,
because it's been trying to get your attention and you're not paying attention. So sometimes it shows it at you in a lot of weird ways, weird dreams. When you have those really weird dreams that you're like, what is that? Or who's that person? I've never seen that person in my dream. That's your subconscious trying to communicate something to you that you're just not recognizing on a conscious level. And that's why sometimes it is important to note things, and just even if you have to put it aside, because later on it makes sense.
Yeah, the dreams could be weird, especially when there are places and people that you only know in the dreams, like a town that you frequent in your dream, and you're starting to learn the scenery, and a school that you like. A lot of times I'll go to school, like I'll be back in school again, and this is a school that exists somewhere. There's like layouts to the hallway, but it's not. It's weird, these people and these friends and these things only exist in the dream state. It's pretty crazy,
right? And you know perfectly well. I've never been to this place. I know I've never been to this.
I want to go. Like I want. I feel like I know these people, and you wake up kind of sad sometimes. Like, damn, I miss my friends.
Right.
I wish they were real. We were so close.
You know what? I'm gonna ask you, and I don't know if any of you have ever heard of what they call, because we talk about spiritual and the fascination of paranormal, and I was surprised because sometimes I miss what's currently going on with young people. Just think about tulpas, the creation of tulpas, and I'm thinking, oh my God, are they crazy? Do they know what they're really? I mean, people who understand really what a tulpa is. Okay, it's basically a Tibetan. It's a thought form that you create out of intense thought, and you animate it, and it gets to the point where it becomes self-conscious. And I'm seeing that there's teenagers out there doing this, and I'm like, that's so dangerous. That is so dangerous, because let me tell you something. A lot of times what you think is a thought form, it's not your thought form, And even there's a lady, what was her name? Her name was Alexandra, or something like that. She was a turn of the century. She snuck into the Forbidden City in Tibet. She did a lot of studies into mysticism, and she herself said she tried it, and she created a little monk out of her thought forms. And she says that eventually other people started to see him around her camp, and she would dress as a man, and she was going into Tibet and all these places that women weren't allowed to go to. It got to the point, and she was very adept at what she was doing. She started to undo him because he'd started to become malicious. Okay, and other people started to be able to see him even when she wasn't around. So, and I've learned, I had some people. Not everybody used to know what a tulpa was, and now I'm seeing that there's out there sites that are telling, especially young teenagers, how to create a tulpa because they're lonely. And it's like, what are they thinking about? That's like,
I talked about it in my persona video. I'm not sure if I put it in my book or not. I know I was. I feel like I deleted the section that was. I can't remember though. But I talked about them in my video that I did called Persona, talking about channeling and creating entities and things like that we do. And I think channeling is a form of that stuff as well, like creating these entities, or you getting in the persona, the scapegoat factor. Hey, it wasn't me, it was the one-armed man, and my imaginary friend, or the devil told me to do it. Like, no, he didn't. Why are you blaming the devil? You wanted to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like having the scapegoat. And I talked a lot about how the psychology behind the mind and how it works with dealing with these different types of entities, because they only exist to you. You go to if you was to call the doctor again while having spiritual problems and tell him you're seeing these spirits, the doctor's not going to believe you. Only you believe you. Because to them, they don't exist. So, it's something that you have to fight, and you have to deal with these demons that you've created.
Now, can you imagine what you purposely created? Because there's, I'm talking about the tulpa, where basically you think you're animating, giving a thought form that you created certain characteristics, and you made it a certain way, and supposedly at some point it becomes self-aware, and it's not under your control anyway. And I've heard of people doing it, especially if you're young and stupid, as like, I'm not lonely anymore. And it's like, I'm telling you right there, it's like, you know what? Your friends need to be made of flesh and blood. Sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and I get it. There's people that are introverts that don't make friends easily. And if they have friends, maybe they only have a couple. That's okay. That's fine. but your friends need to be made of flesh and blood.
I don't know if I talked about this on your podcast or not, but as I look back at my life as a teenager, I was alone a lot. Overactive imagination, but a lot of my time I was alone. I had friends, but there was a lot of time spent alone. And and now that I look back on it, some of the different rituals, occult rituals that I did trying to make pacts with demons was simply because I was alone and I wanted a friend. Like literally. Like I was a teenager and I'm trying to contact entities out of the Satanic Bible just because I wanted a friend. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. And you know what? Loneliness, fear of rejection. Okay.
Yeah.
When you're that age, those things bite deep. They cut deep.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. When we're later, when we're a little bit older and life shakes us about a little bit, you realize that was not such a big deal. But when you're that age, it is. And think about it. Something that you conjured, you think is always going to be in your corner. Let's face it. So it's much easier than making a friend that might betray you. That happens. Or just some people, they're just, and some people even have social anxiety. There's people out there that have social anxiety. They don't feel like being around a bunch of people. And then, like you said, they become a little bit isolated, and next thing you know, but they still hunger for somebody that will dialogue with them, and then they fall into what you're describing. You know,
and I think it's weird when it gets dangerous when we get into demons and lower level entities and stuff. But part of the reason I'm so infatuated with the Bible and God and my Christian faith is the fact that some of these things that we're mentioning, like it says that God becomes that for you. Like for the, you know what I'm saying, for the fatherless, for that person who's never had a father, that to stay, or a consistent man figure. Like God says, I will be a father unto you. He says, I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you. Like, and we see women who have been through like abandonment issues and multiple divorces. And now they're like, you know what? I'm married to God. Why? Because he'll never leave. He'll never forsake you. He's like, I'll be a friend to you. He says, I'll be a friend that sticks closer to than a brother. And for me, when I found that kind of stuff out and it really became real to me is when all that lower level stuff fell away and God became my best friend, you know, and it was a positive figure in my life versus like these deceptive lower level things that I was dealing with when I found the beauty and the divine of the all, which is God as a father, as a friend, as a, you know, whatever you need him to be type deal. I'm going to tell you something. That's good, but I don't think God, Christ, wants you to be that with them because of that. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want to be your good friend, not because you're afraid of being lonely. Do you see what I'm saying? I should not be taking the place of, because I want you to live life as a human being. Yeah. Definitely. No, you're absolutely right. There's some of those people where God is my friend and I don't need any friends, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like that's okay. So okay, so you're with, you know, what you're, so if you had a friend, then Christ would go out the door. I mean, it's like they don't. Well, hey, some people believe that, and then for some people, like that's the case. Now that I have friends again, I don't need God. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. It's like, okay, I'm good. Well, no, it shouldn't be the reason. God, you know, divine, whatever, doesn't need you to come to them out of fear of either or for reward or punishment. Whatever the case might be, it's because you really believe it and it soothes your heart, but it shouldn't take the place of interactions with other human beings, because we are alive to engage in life and run the risks of being disappointed, hurt, making mistakes. You know, we're going to do that all the way to the moment we die. You know, if you want to be an aesthetic and, you know, go to the mountain and live on a rock, that's different. But we are meant to engage in life. That's making choices and being tempted and saying, man, I really want to do that, but I'm not going to do it. Because the last time I did that, it didn't work out. That is what we are supposed to be doing, not running away from living life. And like you said, a lot of people, sometimes they substitute, like you said, Christ might be my friend. That's great. But Christ wants you to have real friends. Now that you need to pick and choose your friends, absolutely. Yeah, you know, but not to turn away from not living life. You're right. There's a lot of people who do that.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a time. Maybe it's like to like get healing from those areas when everyone's betrayed you and you're only attracting people who want to use you, right? There needs to be a time where you step away and and kind of examine that. And I think that a lot of us have that time where we kind of go through that refiner process or whatever, and we have to re-examine it. But it is to get back in it. It's not to step away. And I'm with you though. Everything you're saying about the human experience and knowing how how we are divine, but we're still human at the same time, and we're meant to go through betrayal and hurt, because it's like, how do you respond? How do you come back? And it's like the whole world, whether it's literal people or the spirit realm, they're wanting to see how you're going to respond to rejection. Oh wow, they conquered rejection. Wow, they responded with love. And that's it's beautiful. And I don't think we should be escaping all the time, right? There definitely should be downtime and places that we go where we feel safe. You know what I'm saying? But we have to get back in the game for sure.
Well, basically, what it is have you learned your lesson? The last time you had that experience, let's say when you were young and you did something stupid, you find yourself in that situation and you stop yourself and you go, wait a minute, no, hold on. And you learn a lesson. But some people, they're afraid of being faced with that scenario again. Okay? Yeah. And it's like, did you learn the lesson? Did you realize that maybe the prior actions, what it led to? So you pull back. And that absolutely, especially like what you described, and there's people that are trying to get away from either friends they're hanging out with or places they've been to, and what I call the fallow times. That's when you need to pick up your stuff, pick up your toys, go home, and like you said, cut off and just be with yourself.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you don't stay there though. Some people it's like, it feels safe. I'll just stay here and not talk to anybody, not interact with people, and cocoon myself and isolate myself. That is a big danger there though.
It's like the whole all men are dogs type deal.
Oh yeah.
It's like no, just the men that you've been hanging out with.
Exactly.
Get back in the game. All men aren't dogs. There's someone out there for you. Somebody's gonna treat you right. Yeah,
and when sometimes you do need that downtime, because we all as human beings, we seek what we call a pattern of repetition. We want to fix that, especially when it comes to relationships, starting with parental stuff. We want to fix it, and then we try to put in stand-ins that are going to behave like that person originally did. And that's when you get people say, I don't know why I end up always in this type of relationship. It's because you are repeating yourself. And sometimes we need time to figure that out about our psyche. And as a matter of fact, let's say romantic relationship. It's like, for the next 6 months, the person that attracts you is not the person for you. It's the person that doesn't attract you that probably would be the best person for you. So sometimes you do need that downtime to figure that out. And what I call self-preservation. Self-preservation is not only your physical being, like, you don't want anything to happen to you. There's such a thing as emotional and spiritual self-preservation. And it's very important. And there's people, I hate to say it, that sometimes have a death wish, when it comes to either their physical life or their emotional life, where they do things because really what they're hungering for is to escape life.
I've been talking about that a lot.
What are your thoughts on that? Because
escapism, it's scary. We can see it in other people, but we do it too. Like, so there has to be some healthy form of it. But I definitely know those people who are always trying to ascend or leave their body or spiritual practice is their escapism. But I think there's healthy things, but we got to be human. We have to feel it. Know what rejection feels like. Know what being stabbed in the back feels like. Know what pulling that knife out of your back feels like. Know what scar tissue feels like, right? Know what love feels like. So there's a healthy balance there, and I think we should embrace both, the light and the dark in this human experience, because it's both. But I definitely see groups of people where it's really an emphasis on escaping. They don't call it that. They call it something else. But, and I think addiction falls into that. But there's healthy addictions and addictions that are killing you, right? But anything that kind of helps you not deal with reality.
Right. And basically it's a form of self-soothing. You're self-soothing. Okay. There's people that self-soothe with drugs. I know because
heroin, cocaine, crack, weed.
Associate and whatever. And at some point you used it, and all of a sudden, I mean, we could get into, you know, with the reward centers in your brain, and we're talking something chemical, but you know, there's such a thing as process addictions, you know, people gambling, stuff like that. And basically you train your brain centers, like you get a shot of endorphin every time you do that. But basically what it boils down to, you know, those are just the symptoms. The cause is it soothes you. And soothing, how can I tell you? Let's say you had a really rough day, you know, especially for women, how they say, I'll just go shopping. You know, when the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. That's okay. You go for 2, 3, 4 hours, go shopping, and you distract yourself from a big problem or something. You had a rough day. That's okay. That's fine. You distract yourself, or you go to see a movie. The problem is when that's all you do all the time, and in things that are really destructive. Okay. And like I said earlier, anxiety, you're going to feel anxiety, and you're going to go, you know, like, you know, the roller coaster, it goes up a mountain, you know, like it goes up and you're like, I can't take this. I hate it. Mm-hmm. It's going to peak, but then it's going to come down. It's not going to kill you. But some people are very scared of that anxiety as it mounts up, depending also on your emotional makeup. Yeah. It's not. And believe it or not, once you go that, you desensitize yourself to the point where when you get anxious and your heart's beating and you feel real uncomfortable, you already start, you know, I know this is going to pass. In other words, you handle it. Once you go through that experience enough times, and you don't need that that distraction. But yeah, distraction in and of itself is good. It kind of lets your head cool off a bit, your emotions. Even sleeping on it. You know that thing about sleep on it? Yeah. You know, it's the same thing. You sleep on it, you distract yourself, you just shift, you don't telescope on something, maybe a problem that's this big, you see it this big, because you're like, oh my God. You know,
the trolls.
Like, the trolls, whatever. Sometimes you need to pull back and distract yourself with something else, let it go. And then when you look at it again, you go, that's a problem, but not as bad as I thought. Or, you know what, I thought of a solution. Or, you know, you pull back, your perspective changes. Distraction is good as long as you don't spend all your time being distracted. And then life just goes by you while you were being distracted. Yeah. Which happens more than people think with, let's say, a lot of the stuff that we got on the internet or on the TVs or on the video games. Yeah. You know, you're not living life. You know.
Yeah. Do you watch Netflix at all?
Yeah.
Did you see Don't F with Cats?
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen it? Okay. Watch it. Watch it. It's good.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if you could talk about it, but it's about a guy named Luca Mignata. I don't know if you've heard that name, but no.
Maybe I haven't. Okay.
Just watch it. Yeah, I didn't know if we could talk about it or not. So yeah, it's good.
No.
Well, we're talking about you know, the mind and the brain and how everything works, and so definitely psychology plays a huge role in narcissism and things like that, which is what that's about. So definitely check that out.
Right. And you know what? Believe it or not, everybody thinks of narcissism. The roots of narcissism is a deep self-hatred. You think of it the other way around. You know, you think of the narcissist as the person that's always like, it's all about me, and I love me, and me, the best clothing, the best thing, and, you know, everybody that's around me, I'm going to be using them. You know, in other words, if you're not doing something for me, get out of here. Believe it or not, the roots of the narcissist is a deep, deep self-hatred, to the point that they need constant admiration or adulation. It's the opposite, in other words, from what it looks like. You know, there's a lot of narcissists that you'll see, they look great, you know, wearing the best clothing, surrounded by the best people. You know, I hate to say, a lot of people in the entertainment industry are narcissists. And then when their life derails, and you're like, what happened to that person? Because really,
at the core, they hated themselves. Yeah,
they hated themselves a lot. Even though on the exterior it looked like something totally different.
Yeah. My friend, Occult Priestess, she wants to know if you're talking about Russell Brand, LOL, what she's friends with Russell Brand. But also, Occult Priestess wants to know your zodiac. What's your astrological sign?
I'm a Libra with an ascendant in Sagittarius and a moon in Cancer.
Awesome.
So I really look like a Sagittarius, but I'm a Libra. My son is a Libra. And believe it or not, in my astrological chart, I don't have that much Libra in me. And for those people, you know, if you're into astrology, you know, most people know that, you know, you're much more than what your sun sign is. as far as looks and emotional makeup and things like that. And believe it or not, I use astrology more on an economics basis than for personal use. My personal use is from an economic, as far as trends in the worldwide economy and banking. That's really what my interest is in astrology. But of course, I had my chart done. So, yeah.
Occult Priestess says, thank you, Truth. I adore this lady. I want to get you on, my friend. Occult Priestess, I need to get you back on here, especially all the notoriety you just got with Jesse on Jesse's podcast. It'll be awesome. Well, I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
And so you got your podcast, your website, bunch of work that you put out.
I've got 3 books. I've got 5 books out. 3 are nonfiction. I just put out two starting in December. These are supernatural fantasies. They're out there. It's one's called The Walker Between the Worlds, book 1 of the Sibyl Chronicles, and I put out a novella called Diabolique, which is a Sibyl novella. And I'm working right now, as a matter of fact, on my 3rd one. I'm like, which I'm trying to get out for the end of March, which is in that Sibyl universe, which is a lot of esoteric mysticism, the supernatural. As a matter of fact, the title that I'm working on is A Path to Purgatory. I mean, a lot of the metaphysical, spiritual aspects all combined. And the underpinnings between good and evil, how sometimes they overlap. And the reason why I say that is what we think of as good and evil, sometimes there's grays in between where, that's
alien grays.
Alien. There you go. God. Are they? What are they? Are they biomechanicals? I mean, we could go down that road or are they really?
My lab. There was something that I touched on in the book, just briefly, just because it's an interesting theory when it comes to the grays, is that because a lot of people think that all aliens are demons, but there's this theory that those were suits, that the alien grays were these suits that were made, and that suits that were created for demons to inhabit and control and give life to. So these demons that have these kind of meat suits that somebody or something has created for them, whether it's the government or aliens or whatever the case is.
Are they interstellar? Or are they interdimensional? Okay.
Are they robots?
You see some pictures. Have you seen some drawings of some grays? Some of them are scary, and then you see the other grays, which are really pretty with the big eyes, and they're like, "Oh, that's so sweet." It all depends. Because, of course, that we do have as human beings, like we go for the baby look, the big eyes, the small mouth. That for us makes us feel good. We don't feel threatened by it in a way.
I'm threatened by it.
I know. If I saw a gray, I'd be like, what?
You wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, what is that in the corner of the room? And it moves a little bit. Oh, shit. It's a little alien gray.
Right, exactly. One of those things like, I had a gray at the foot of my bed. I'd be like, okay. That'd be the end of sleep for me.
I think it has something to do with the just a humanoid figure that just kind of
right,
without any features, without any hair. I think it's Joe Rogan and some other people talk about what if they're time travelers? What if they're us from the future, which we don't need muscle anymore because we're not moving boxes. We're not like we have technology and machines do all of our work. We don't need maybe if we're living in space, there's a different density.
Let me tell you something. That thought scares me, and I had heard of that. Where haven't you seen those aliens where everything is cerebral? You got the big heads, and of course the rest of the body is really thin and not muscular. And I'd be like, I'd hate to think that we're going to end up looking like that, because your mind it's all in your brain, it's all in your head.
Well, it's either that or the opposite, which is from WALL-E, the cartoon WALL-E, the movie that came out, which are these really obese people who are just moving using technology and eating, slamming junk food all the time and not moving, so it's one or the other. It's the,
And one of these days when we get back, we'll talk about that eating thing, about people that eat guilt, about when you're eating guilt, like, how people eat they're not supposed to, and they're ingesting guilt. And a lot of it has to do how it translates into what your body actually does with the food. When you were, I'm sure you can real quick because how people talk about when they cook certain things, what you're feeling when you're cooking is what people that eat the food feel. Like, in other words, it passes on to your food.
Yeah.
Same thing, same concept as in when you're eating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, Something to think about.
Good stuff. Yeah, we getting the chat riled up with this alien talk. They're talking about Aleister Crowley and Lamb and LAM Lamb, which is interesting. I mean, that whole thing. I mean, because that's what he drew, right? I mean, but it's just a humanoid. It's just a humanoid being.
It's Aleister Crowley is absolutely he was in touch with something. Now, what it was. You have to go by what were his intentions, and his intentions, of course, were he was trying to grab onto something that was, obviously not divine. Okay, but and I've seen that drawing that how much of it and you know what, without being there, which none of us were, how much of this really did happen versus what he wrote about.
Yeah, well, it's like H.P. Lovecraft too, like. Right. When I was doing all the Satanism stuff and Wicca and all of, I was just trying to make pacts with entities. The most scariest one that scared the hell out of me was the Necronomicon. And that was one that he admittedly just kind of made up and made all these entities up. But we were just talking about tulpas, though, creating them. And I talk about Lucifer, the fact that like as far as from a biblical reference, Lucifer is not the devil, or it's a title. It means light bearer. But I got friends who are like, yeah, but we've given him that title, and now we've created Lucifer, and he responds and answers to that name, and so these ideas that embody the essence of an individual that we created, when it comes to H.P. Lovecraft, something that didn't exist, but I was scared to death to do those rituals. I wouldn't do them. Oh, well, because the fake ones,
when you read all of Lovecraft's works, whether it was his short stories or his longer ones, at least, like I said, he had that whole universe. It wasn't only just Cthulhu. It was all these other gods, which were basically hated human beings. And what he, of course. And then, he had those Count Arkham and the Necronomicon and Alzared, which was the Arabian magician who was the source of the Necronomicon. All those things, like, basically the end was the end of human beings, the enslavement of human beings. Or, that there was part of his story of, that's, Vermont setting where you had people that were basically amphibians, family was amphibious. You have to give it to him, man. Back then, he was really thinking outside of the box. Well, no, he was way out.
Who else did that? The founder of the church. What is it?
Of which one?
God, come on, the alien church, the Scientology.
Oh, Hubbard.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard did it and made a religion, and
Well, he was, but then I've heard. I mean, I know a little bit of Hubbard. I really haven't, but I heard that he was also doing demonic at the very beginning. This was when he was establishing, and even he was working with somebody that went on later to develop rocket science, and then of course that he was also doing work with dark practices. This was at the very beginning, and I think at some point, especially if you study humans, you realize I got to sugarcoat this. People are not going to go for this, I'm invoking demons. I got to make it like I'm saving their souls. So,
he had a whole bunch of books. Like he was just like a
Dianetics was that big one, the first one that really took off.
Yeah, in the 50s. Right,
yeah. If you read, let's say if you read the blurb about Dianetics, you go, man, that's a really interesting idea, which is the power of your mind. It's great. The concept.
Obviously, there's something to it to get all these people following it. Like,
oh yeah. Oh well, but what it boils down to is called control, because at the end,
some of it's based on the work of Freud. It says in Eastern philosophy, which that's a thumbs up for me. Yeah.
But the thing
psychoanalysis.
Is, one thing is when you learn to control yourself. Another thing is when I want to control you. And basically, that's what ends up with a lot of the beliefs in Scientology is that you surrender control of yourself. And I have a problem, personally speaking, surrendering control of myself to another human being. The divine is different. You are another human being. I have a problem with hierarchies. Okay, maybe you call it distrust, but when somebody wants that total surrender, especially on a spiritual level of your spiritual beliefs, I think that there's a lot of danger in that. One thing is to participate in a group, and another thing is when you're asked to surrender all your control. even when you might, even against yourself, against your own self-preservation. I think there's a problem with that. And from what I understand, Scientology, eventually that's where it leads. Even though at the beginning, like a lot of these things, it sounds great. Some of the principles of when you start getting into it, they sound like, oh man, learning yourself and, your mind is the source of a lot of your problems and controlling your thoughts and all that. It's like, yeah, that sounds plausible. But then it goes downhill from there as far as I'm concerned. It's certain of their beliefs, in case there's any Scientologists out there.
This stuff has to come out of a creative mind, though, or an overactive imagination, right? I mean, Joseph Smith, and, Muhammad, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I think? I think that if they address a hunger, because a lot of people say, especially nowadays, that there's people that are spiritually hungry. I think we're always been spiritually hungry. Okay. And I think that they are really smart enough to figure out there's a slew of people running out there that want somebody to say, come here, it's going to be okay. And I'm going to tell you what to do. And by the way, since I'm telling you what to do, I'm taking away responsibility of you making a mistake. Because believe it or not, that's what it boils down to. People being afraid of being responsible for their actions. And if you hand it over to a leader, guess what? You've just released yourself. You're off the hook. You're being told what to do, where to go, what to do. Oh man, I'm not responsible. Responsibility, it takes a lot of courage. But a lot of people don't want that. They're afraid of it.
Someone in the chat says that some of Crowley's work, it says that Crowley has, and I can't confirm or deny this, but it says some of Crowley's work goes into sexual interactions with children and killing them to create energy. Now that's black magic. Yes. I don't know. I've never read that. I know you've heard a lot of just
a lot of from what I understand, I've heard of that too, and he was into bestiality and everything, sex magic. I want to tell you something. A lot of the most powerful magic, and since I live in South Florida, I know I've seen it. Is the bloodletting.
Well, I mean,
and that's very powerful magic.
It's almost like an expose of the damn government in like some of the higher realms of Masonic orders and things, right? I mean, we're starting to hear about now with Epstein and all this kind of stuff.
Well, and that's a lot of. And I a lot of people think of, ceremonies where you have bloodletting, especially human. By the way, I'm sorry, we're important. Where and everybody thinks of the tradition on an altar or some dark place, and everybody's wearing a hood. But what if the actual bloodletting is on a larger scale?
Yeah, it's a tank driving through a small village in the Middle East.
Yes, exactly. Whatever.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's taking down a building in New York. 2 buildings.
Exactly.
Controlled demolition to offer to the gods to get power, for sure.
Right. That you think of it, well, it was a disaster, it was a tragedy. But what if on a metaphysical level, we're not talking here our physical, on a metaphysical level, it was done for a certain reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And that's what they're saying. Sometimes you have to look beyond.
No, I believe that 100%. And then they want to ask me, who am I voting for? After I've read all these books and done the knowledge. Who you voting for? I'm like, man, you don't get out of my face with
you know what? I wish, and I know I'm being very, because that's the thing. Let's say with wars, when you look at the history of human beings, God, we never get it. You know what I'm saying? We don't. I don't know if it's something in our nature, or if it was a question of survival upon a time where you either defended yourself or you attacked. And, I personally wish there was an end to wars. I can take it where sometimes people do stuff on a personal level, but that wholesale slaughter of human beings, that to me is, on a spiritual level, I think one of the most offensive things that can happen. Okay. Because a lot of times the people that are killed are innocents. And when I mean innocence, I don't mean that you're not even a soldier per se. Where you go in there, that you're engaged in battle. You just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. The agony, the suffering, what goes on with that. And that's one of the things that I wish that would happen at some point. And I don't know if it's in our nature, if we could ever basically disengage that from our nature. Mm-hmm. Where that doesn't happen, and I know
we have to. I think that's the That's the test of humanity. So you know how we talk about the journey and the test that we're taking individually, and it's about love and responding with peace and overcoming and things like that. Humanity is taking that same test as a collective, and I think that the more that we do it individually, it changes the collective eventually. Now, what's going to happen, how many years, it takes a lot longer for the masses of people to wake up, but I do see like that all of us have to choose love, and we're looked at and we're judged upon like nations and things like that by the collective of the people. What song is, what fragrance is rising up from that people? What are their beliefs? What God do they worship? What are they doing? And so I really do believe that there's us as a people will maybe have our place amongst the stars once we reach this level of ascension and choosing love. And it's bound to happen, or we're going to destroy ourselves, one or the other.
And then we could also look at it as if when you have wholesale slaughter, one way or the other, if it's a metaphysical reason somebody wants that to happen. Not in other words, it's not for conquest, it's not for this or not material stuff is what I'm saying. They think, we're doing that, or these nations are going to war over that thing. What if it looks like that, but really what it is, it's on a metaphysical level. They need the spilling of blood.
Yeah, 100%. I believe it. That's by the way, that is very, very, very dark. If you want to call it dark magic or dark gods, or I don't know how it is. Well, you start looking into some of these people who are leaders, and you find out that they're all related, and they're all in these weird secret orders.
Well, and they're finding the thing about Epstein. It's like, what is this? Here
you got a temple built. Epstein had a temple that he flew leaders out to, Trump and all the leaders. That and it's crazy. These are
all movers and shakers. And think about it.
These people are demonic, man. People think that they're just like us. Okay. They might not even be human as far as what we're. They could be a totally different.
They could be totally. That's like. But then you think, okay, these are people that have so much money, so much wealth, so much everything. That and let's say if it came to sexual gratification, you could have any girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever chick. Why are you needing to go to this island in the middle of the Atlantic or the Caribbean? Unless the setting is important. It's not like, you understand what I'm saying? So I think that people are getting a little bit of an idea of a flavor of what was really going on. And I hate to say that, but if you think Epstein was the only one that was procuring.
No,
I don't think
so. I think it goes back to, the Garden of Eden in the Bible, where you believe that was literal or an analogy, is that God says, hey, eat from this tree. Don't touch that tree. Not that one. You can't have that one. And which tree do we want? The one that we can't have. And so these people who have reached these high places of authority and power and money, and they can have anything that they want. What's the one thing that you can't have? And that's the one thing that they want. Children.
But you know what? I think it also goes to, I think you have to be corrupted even from a very young, that this is what fulfills you. In other words, that I'm not going to give the person the out of being so wealthy that they're so jaded, like what you're saying. Hey, what else is left? There has to be, because something feeds your soul when you go to the point of either abusing a child, sexually, molestation, bloodletting, sacrifice. There's something's got to be feed your soul that I think was corrupted very early on in life. And then, as a matter of fact, that probably helped you get as wealthy as you did, by the way. Because you probably ran people over, like on the way up, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You have to kludge people out. That's capitalism. You have to lie to them and sell.
By the time you get up there, but that corruption.
You're already in bed. You can't get up there unless you've went up the ladder.
Well, a lot of disregard for the well-being of other human beings. And all of a sudden, of course, this is the persona you present to the world. You're very successful, whatever. But that corruption was with you long before you got up there. As a matter of fact, that's why you got up there. And then that corruption. You're facilitated by feeding it. Now,
they have gatekeepers. There's gatekeepers that are going to make sure you're with them. Hold on, he's not with us. No, you can't. You have to be welcomed into the gentleman's club. You got to come to our parties.
Let me tell you, I tell everybody.
I don't want to be mean, but there's people in the chat talking about how Trump never went to Epstein's island. Trump partied down with Epstein. That was his homie. Like they got tons of pictures together at parties and.
With a creator, I'm going to say it as a creator. Do you know how many writers, singers, performers, celebrities, artists. If you were not on the page of the people that were empowered, your stuff never got seen.
Yeah.
Or you were never promoted because you were not on the right page with them. You know what I'm saying? Or once you made it, you would have looked around and said, what in the world is this, you know? And people, I think a lot of creators never got a chance or a break, especially now, you know, with things that you could do your own thing. But, you know, like you said, once upon a time, if a gatekeeper didn't bring you in, that's it. Your stuff never got seen, whatever it was. I think that a lot of people, the creators, never were recognized. Their work was never recognized because they just wouldn't have been on board with what was happening.
Yeah.
So they got denied. It's like, nah, your stuff's not good. But why? No, it's not good. Because it's not really, the problem wasn't what you were creating, it's who you were that would have been not on the program with what was going on with those above you. And I'm going to get well, look at this other guy, what's his face? Weinstein. Have you seen him? Have you seen him hobbling into court?
I haven't seen anything recent.
Well, they've shown him going, you know, those little walkers, you know, that really old people use, you know, when they can't walk. He's using one of these walkers to go into court. And you look at him and you go, oh, my God. It's like this guy was, you know, preying on, you know, people's starlets, you know, people going out there trying to make it in Hollywood, women, you know, and now he's pretending like he's this old guy I'm hobbling about. It's like, that's incredible.
He coached and worked with actors. These people are actors, and they're some of the best writers on the planet.
Yes.
They write movie scripts and things that pull us in, and there's something that they've done that we've talked about on you know, with these shows like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, is they take these people, they take these villains and they let them do all these vile, despicable things. They've killed women and children. They've raped people. They've done all these despicable things. But then they have this arc in their storyline where they have a come to Jesus moment, and now we're rooting for the person that we wanted to die. Negan from The Walking Dead. I love his character, but there's a lot of people who are like, they still can't get over that he killed their favorite characters in the show and how all the vile stuff that he did. But the writers have a way of making us root for the bad guy. You know, because we see their humanity and stuff, and the same people who write these stories and stuff in deep Hollywood, and like they're writing what we see on TV with all the politics and elections, and hey, I need you to come in here and look feeble. I need you to take this cane. This cane needs to be this color, by the way. You know, and all of this kind of stuff. It's deep psychological stuff that we don't even know. We're watching it like it's reality TV, and there's no such thing. Reality TV is scripted. So, but you think this is real, but this stuff's real.
It is, and this is the thing. Everybody loves the story of redemption. Redemption is a great story.
Yeah.
That people, if you want to call them the villain, that somewhere or other they get it and they redeem themselves. A redemption. But all of a sudden, like you said, when the villain ends up being the hero without being redemption, it's like, okay, how'd that happen? You know, because he gets the best out of everything. He survives, how you want to call it. And yeah, I've seen that in several storylines in Hollywood.
It's big. I love it. We all love it. It's something on the inside of most of us that love it. But there's those other people like, no, don't believe him. He's not reformed. And a lot of times they still come back to bite you on the ass.
Yes.
Is they come back. We all was rooting for him, and then his true colors still came out at the end.
Right.
He killed your favorite character, whatever it is. You know, it's like, and all those other people. Like, I told you he was evil. I told you. That's the conspiracy guys. I told you he was still wicked. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, snake is a snake is a snake. You know, that kind of. But we were influenced a lot by Hollywood, unfortunately, too much so, where we kind of think that that's reality, and like, you know, reality is what you're living, believe it or not. You know.
Yeah, and it's like watching an actor get up there and receive an award and give you this speech. Like, they're playing a character in a persona that is accepting a reward. Joe Rogan, he's in Hollywood. I listen to his stuff sometimes, but he's like, I can't. He's like, actors are creepy, man, because they just know how to. Boom, hey, this is who I am today. This is a role that I'm in. And he's like, and like, as far as the narcissism behind it, and we're watching these people on TV, and they're not like us, man. And I mentioned Joe Rogan. And I've thrown this out there a couple times. Joe Rogan's he's a bro. He's a UFC commentary. He's one of us. But every now and then when you listen, they say stuff that's like, oh, wow. They tell you how they really feel about the working class, about the people on the low-level tiers of the pyramid. And they'll make little jokes, and they'll say stuff about the guys changing oil at Jiffy Lube, and they'll make weird jokes. It's like, hold on. It's slipping out, even though you're a bro and you're like a billionaire, bro. Like but you're one of us. But it's not the case. And every now and then they let that stuff slip, and I catch it, and I'm like, man, I can't believe you said that, And it came out. Maybe not everybody catches it, but I caught it, man.
Well, because let's face it, he gets a lot of a bigger audience if he establishes the commonality. He's one of the common people. He's one of, and then of course you just said it. He's one of the bros.
Well, I mean, you know what? Maybe even Trump Trump is not them. He's one of us. There's that narrative that people are taking.
And it's just this thing where you identify, even if it's not where they're at now, but their background, where they came from. Yeah. You identify with it. He's
self-made. He didn't, and
right.
Nobody gave him a platform. He created it.
And sometimes people. And I've heard of that. And, it's very, let's face it, I'm going to go with the actors. What you do for a living, you're an entertainer. You pretend to be other people. Sometimes and I hate to say it, but sometimes people with celebrities, they think they walk on water. And it's like, that's just an entertainer, and that's the end of it. Yeah. Sometimes they don't live life at all in your universe. The normal things that all of us think of as, like what you said, I got to go change the oil in my car. Hey, I got to do this. They got people who do that for them. What do you think? They, for better or for worse, which, by the way, at the end of the day, really what you should be thinking about is, how do I live my life, my reality, okay? And not try to imitate theirs so much, because let's face it, it's not going to work. But we always look at it as like, how many times have you seen these celebrities that look like they've got it made? They're beautiful house, a lot of money, the car, celebrity, and all of a sudden they commit suicide. Or their life just, it just implodes. And you're like, what? Or you find out these horrible things. What? I thought this person had this perfect life, because that was what Hollywood or their handlers or whatever presented.
That's what you was allowed to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, I'm going to say it, being average is usually the key to being happy. I have found that. Being an average person, you have the best chances of being truly happy. And some of these people, I don't know whether they're perpetually unhappy or have resigned themselves to be unhappy. But if you're into, I want to be happy or contented, I truly think that's what fills the human soul. Being average is your best shot at being happy. And by this, I don't mean not to strive. Absolutely. I think you should strive and want things. I'm talking about, when we're talking about upper echelons, let's say, of the pyramid, like you said, the food chain in society. It might look like, man, I'd be thrilled if I was there. Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah. You pick up on stuff every now and then, and they let it out, and they forget. It's almost like they forget that people are watching. I talked about what is her name? Sandra Bullock, in the penis facial that she gets, and she was on Ellen. My God, it is crazy. I talk about this all the time, but it's just an example. She was on Ellen, and Ellen was trying to out her. Maybe they talk about this public humiliation that is something that the elites have to go through as well. Right. But so she was on Ellen, and Ellen was like, "Hey, tell us how you look so young," because she's like 50-some years old, and she looks like she's 23. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, well, I just take good care of myself." She's like, "Yeah, I know there's a product you use. What is it?" And she was laughing like, "Well, it's a facial cream." "What kind?" "Well, it's what's it made out of?" And she was like trying to out her because she knew what it was. Right. And she's like, "Well, it's skin. It's made out of a skin." Sandra Bullock uses the blended up foreskins from Korean babies that is made into a paste that helps her skin to look young, vibrant, and beautiful. And they were just like laughing about it. And I was like, hold on, this isn't normal, man. This isn't normal. And they're laughing about it. And this is the kind of people we're talking about,
That you're going to tell me, okay, here I'm going to go up. That has a flavor of vampirism, in a way. I hate to say it. you know, whether you want to look at it as a life force, then you might think, well, maybe we're just looking at the components of like what's in it, like organically, chemically. But if we look at it from a metaphysical, there's a flavor of vampirism. And, you know,
somebody has to collect those things. Like you may get it in a tube. You know what I'm saying?
Part of vampires, there's energy vampires besides the typical. If we go into that, you know, the actual blood, you know, suckers. You can tell I just finished watching The Strain, the series. I binged on that for anybody that ever saw that, you know. But anyway, come on, you mean you're so wealthy that you can probably get any facial cream out there not made of foreskin. Oh God, come on. I'd like, just technically, I'm sorry. I
want the one that works, and it just so happens to be the one that is not readily available to everybody.
That they've gotten those injections, those blood injections under the skin. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, man, just, okay. I'm all good with trying to look young and pretty and whatever if you're an entertainer, but where do you draw the line? With just, you're getting old. Hello. It happens.
Shelly in the chat says Angelina Jolie uses placenta on her face.
I'm not surprised.
But yeah, there's snippets all over the internet on just type in Sandra Bullock facial cream. I mean, like a lot of them have covered it like it was a thing, but it's accepted and it's laughed about, and you don't know. So I just think it's strange, man.
Part of you wants to wonder, you know, like we were saying, how much of this is. Like what you said, that Ellen was trying to out her, or maybe they're in on it like, okay, you know, this would be great for the show.
Yeah, they thought it was funny. Yeah, it was like a funny.
I want you to play really reticent, like you don't really want to talk about it, and then I'm going to keep asking you. And,
that's scripted. That's scripted. You don't just go in there and just, hey, we're going to wing it. No, you got publicists who are in the corner. Yeah. Like a lot of time, even on Joe Rogan, they'll look at the publicist and nope, we're not talking about it. We're like a real conversation. You should be able to make up. Do you want to address this or not? In the same way, like all that stuff scripted. I get emails from publicists all the time, and I got papers here. You have to ask them these questions. I'm not asking those questions. I'll try to weave some of them in if they're good, and what happens a lot of times is I'll ask them naturally anyway, because that, you know, with their book and the things that they're promoting. But it's like this, you have to like send these people questions, and we think it's organic, and it's like, no, this is all scripted.
Right, people don't even know it. Like, talk about that, but don't talk about that other thing.
Yeah, and don't mention this. It's like, come on, that's what I want to talk to you about. You're telling me not to mention it.
Think about it, you know. Here she's having this conversation. Oh, Sandra, you look so young. Yeah, I use penis cream, you know, versus, you know, this cream, really, but what is it? You know, so everybody's like, what is it? What is it? You know, and it's all entertainment, not real life. And I hate to say it because of the celebrity status you pointed out. It's like it's accepted. Of course, she's a celebrity, so she uses cream made out of baby's foreskin. That's really gross as far as I'm concerned. It's like God.
Yeah, I think there's a price to pay for all of that stuff too. Whether it's the divine coming to collect at the end, you know, God or whatever, you know, entities that you've made pacts with, that, hey, we gave you power, we gave you fame, now it's time to pay up. So there's this thing of like wanting to live forever with the elite because they don't want to pay the piper. Like everybody's got to give an account. So I believe that they know that. You know, and that's one of the differences where people trying to live forever. And
well, let me think, now that you mentioned it, you know, on Netflix, have you ever seen that series called Altered Carbon?
No, I've heard of it. I never watched it though.
Because that's exactly the theme of that. Your consciousness is basically down to a sliver, and you're inserted. And if you have money, you get a new body, like a new skin suit, because your consciousness is like a little disc.
Wow.
Basically, as long as that body that you're using has no head trauma or to the neck, basically, and if you're wealthy and you know, basically you're immortal because you just get transferred from one body to the next. Watch it. It's a very interesting. I mean, it's sci-fi, but the concept behind it is along the lines of what you're describing.
When you're looking at some of these celebrities that they talk about being time travelers, as far as like in every century, there's like an identical pictures of a famous person that was in,
I've seen that.
Coming from wealthy families. We have their pictures, and they look like it's the same person. There's a bunch of them. There's like every. There was
one that I saw that I thought was really interesting, just because I like him as an actor. Keanu Reeves. Have you seen the one for
Keanu Reeves? What's the other guy who played in The Knowing? The big one. He's kind of like a knockoff actor now because he plays in so much stuff. Somebody help me out in the chat here. You guys know who I'm talking about. He's the main one to go to whenever you're thinking about the time traveler actors. I know the chat will help me out. Maybe. Let me just type it in. The Knowing movie cast. What is his name? Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
I haven't seen the one.
Oh wow, yeah, that's the convincing one for me is the Nicolas Cage one, because there's all these old pictures of him. There's a bunch of them with the celebrities. It's interesting, and it's an interesting theory, whether it's real or not. I will tell you that, I mean, a lot of the celebrities we have, they look like some of these emperors, and maybe they're even just from the same bloodline. Maybe they're not eternal. Maybe they are from the same bloodline. Like, hey, we got in, there's a book called The 13 Bloodlines that talk about the Illuminati and the ones who run the world, or rule the world, whatever you want to say. But there was a little girl who did that science project and showed you how all the presidents and all the A-list celebrities were like distant relatives.
Right, so like they say 14, how that 14 degrees of separation, like that. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah,
I had not heard of that. Well, I don't know how, when you talk about those packs, you've heard of the 27 Club, right? All those celebrities that have died when they're 27.
Oh,
And there's a bunch of them, and it's almost along the same lines that they made a pact of fame.
Oh yeah. So I mean, that makes sense with all the rappers dying now, man.
Right. Well, like rappers. In other words, the 27 is like you achieve the fame and the celebrity, and because you of course die when you're 27, you never grow old.
That's way too young.
Well, when you're
27 ain't long enough. But yeah, I see it as a thing now, and most of these are big people. Were Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse. I'm pretty sure the list just keeps going on and on. Yeah,
that guy that was on that he was in the last Star Trek movies. Oh God, what was his name? That he played Chekhov. The remakes of the new Star Trek movies. The name escapes me.
Yeah. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't remember his name. He got run over by his own Jeep. Yeah, really weird. Some of them are suicide. Some of them are weird deaths. And part of the thought behind that is that you don't grow old. Since you die when you're 27, you're always remembered as in beautiful looking or whatever.
That's definitely true, though, with like whether it's a conspiracy or not, as far as like making a pact with the government or the devil or whoever.
Well, no, it's more like a metaphysical pact, kind of like a deal. Like you get that fame and fortune. And some of them, by the way, are trying to outrun it. Once you make the deal, then you want to renege on it.
And they're putting it in their music. How old was Tupac?
God.
How old was Tupac when he died? 25.
Okay. So there's one called the 27 Club because of
that. I mean, that's the thing though, is dying at the height of your career. That's what you're remembered as. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation about the legends, if you will, because we didn't get to see them, fall. We didn't get to see the stars fall. We seen them die at the height of their fame. Whether we're talking about Tupac is a legend. We didn't get to see him get caught up in fads and some of these realms of hip hop music that came and only stayed for 3 years, and now it's laughable that it was a thing. Like, I feel like, what if he would have got into some of that, or did some of these songs with these people? And a good thing for me is the group Bone Thugs and Harmony, which they've continued putting out music over the years, and there's a lot of music that at this point is not good anymore, but they're continuing to put it out because they were legends or are living legends, and they don't get the respect that their peers got. But all their peers are dead. When we're talking about Tupac, Biggie Smalls, Eazy-E, they're going to be remembered, maybe. They're kind of bitter that their name isn't mentioned in the same breath. It's almost
like you're famous because you died. Part of your fame.
Because we didn't get to see you fall. Like, we got to see Michael Jackson fall, though, right? He was trying to make a comeback, but we got to see him. We got to see Bill Cosby fall. He's still alive, but we got to see him fall. It's not good. R. Kelly, we seen him fall. We're seeing all these stars fall.
Well, what happens is that their legacy kind of because all these people, believe it or not, what they want is especially if they grow older, is that they have some type of legacy, a body of work Okay. And some of them are smart and they kind of pull back and they fade like, hey, if that's it, I don't want to be out there in the public eye anymore because I'm not that person I was. And I'll work behind this. Well, Marilyn Monroe. Everybody thinks Marilyn Monroe, she died when she was 36. If you see any image of Marilyn Monroe, it was when she was beautiful. If she wouldn't have died and people would have seen her age, do you think she would be as famous as she is now? No.
Any of them. I mean, Bob Marley, Kurt Cobain, these people that are mentioned on this 27 Club, like there's so many of them because we didn't get to see them fall.
Yes, no.
Now they're immortalized at the top of their success. Tupac, again, man,
Right.
20,
and I
25.
hate to say there's a certain seduction about that that's not good. Some people think, oh, yeah, you know what? I'll be famous. And it's like, you know what?
Well, that was the creepy thing Kobe said. Kobe Bryant with, I know we're talking about some theories and stuff, but I'm not real big on conspiracy. I'm not big on people spouting facts. These are theories. And they try to look at these conspiracy theories as their facts. And these are just theories. So I'm cool with that. But Kobe, he was telling people he wanted to die young. He didn't want to, he wanted to be remembered at the height of his game and what he brought to the table. He was conscious of this. He told Tracy McGrady that, and Tracy McGrady spoke about it in an interview. So I mean, that's
probably nobody wants to talk about that now because it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And people don't realize if you think about something hard enough like that, and it sounds very, I want to say like, in theory, it's so romanticized, for lack of a better word. You got young, well-known, famous, until you get to realize, I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Who thought it was a great idea to die young and famous? I'd rather, that guy Kirk Douglas just passed away like a week ago. He was 104. You know what? And yeah, he was old and he faded to the background. At the end of the day, I'd rather live my life. Yeah, peak, have my body of work, even if I have to go down. But you know what? The spotlight, the notoriety, the fame, it's not even about the money. That people become addicted to that, to having some type of recognition.
Yeah, being forgotten. I mean, that's the biggest fear. Being forgotten, nobody knowing who you are. I mean, I was talking with a friend the other day about, heaven and hell, and there's a sect of Christianity that kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses and some of those guys, Seventh-day Adventists, that believe in annihilation, that when you die, you cease to exist. And that's the fear of death, is you're not even conscious that you're aware that you're here or gone, and or that you ever existed. And so for me, I'm like, burning in hell may be a better option, because at least you still exist. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's not that total oblivion or annihilation,
Well,
scary.
and for let's say for somebody that this is how they've made up, because a lot of people think of these people as that, well, they became wealthy because of whatever they did, whether they were an actor or an entertainer or something. But there's a lot of it that there's a lot of these people that they keep going, that they go, man, how much money do you need? It's not about the money anymore. It's because they need some type of adulation, recognition, that they still matter, okay? And they refuse to. And then some of them, that's why sometimes they romanticize these people that were famous that died really young, or in some cases tragically and unhappily. Oh, that, and it's like, I'd rather live to be an old age. Thanks, even if, my star shines and then it kind of eclipses, which, by the way, is usually what happens with celebrities. It's like, I'll deal with it. But for some people, like those 27 Club, basically what they're saying is that they made a pact. They made some type of deal, whether your star's going to shine bright and then it's going to go out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I'm really big into the Bible, that, but into the, the metaphysical aspects of it, the allegory, what does it represent? And Jesus's life representing humanity or even representing our life, and Revelation talking about these different things that we go through, and then the stars falling, right? Again, the stars falling, and how it's likened to our stars and our idols that fall from the heavens and are cast out and cease to exist. You could definitely see the parallels there with the stars being cast out, the fallen angels even, being cast out of the heavens of Hollywood or notoriety and fame,
Well, what it comes down to is what fuels your being from the beginning. And getting back to what you were saying with this thing with what's her face, with the penis, is that we also have in our society a fear of becoming old, which is it happens to all living things, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think if you can
aging gracefully.
Well, you know what? And then there's a line of thought that says people sometimes act their age because society dictates, hey, when you're that age, this is how you look and this is how you behave.
Yeah.
I'm against that. Don't become old before your time either. But at the same time, there's these people that become fanaticized that they don't want the clock to go forward for them at all. And it's like, what is
I don't
going
think
on?
any of us want to. I mean, that's the biggest scary thing. But it's like, what are you going to do when you find out? Like when you start going, and we see these pious people or even in the Christian realm getting so much plastic surgery done to they're starting to look weird. They look weird, and it's like, hold on, you guys are supposed to be a symbol of virtue and beauty and aging and being graceful women, but you guys are getting all this work, and you're pastors' wives and ministers and leaders. Like, we knew Hollywood does that, but when you guys are competing with Hollywood, it's like, hold on, y'all this the same. Y'all cut from the same cloth. And you guys are the elite too.
Nobody's gonna notice. It's like,
oh my goodness, it's so crazy.
When did you get such puffy lips like that?
Yeah, and I hate to say that because I got friends who are doing it, and they're religious leaders, and they're getting a lot of work done. But for me, it's like, we want to hold on to some type of like humanity or the state of just the natural order of life and things, and all of us, like, on the side, my hair's graying here on the side. Should I dye it? Part of me wants to dye it. The other half is like, no, let it go ahead and come out, do its thing. But I pull the grays out of my beard and put on the facade. A lot of people think I'm a lot younger than I am. And so it's like, hey, do I be young and hip, and be a rapper and all of these things that these personas that they have rules that come with them. Oh, you can't do that and that,
Well, you know what? And you know what? I'm on board, with, like you said, I'm going to dye my hair. And you know what? And I'm going to buy some cream from that I can make all these wrinkles. That's okay. I understand that. I get that. That's fine.
Yeah.
The problem comes when you want to escape the reality that you're a human being that's going to age no matter how much. And then that's when when people do these surgeries, that they start looking like, man, you're not human. You got stuff on your face that you pull that thing any more tighter, like that, then, we're talking.
Now I can see Hollywood, man, but it's the weird thing when it happens in the church. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because they're on a different level for me, but really it's like, there's a reason that these people are like mega pastors and they have deals and all the book deals, and it's not free. You know what I'm saying?
No. Well,
so they're
they would be honest about it, but
with all of these different movements and these religious leaders or world leaders, we're talking about Hitler and Trump and all of these guys, they've always had the church behind them. They've always had their spokesman in the religious right. Trump is like, it's been interesting as a Christian watching Trump get the religious right around him, and they're trying to teach him Christianity. He doesn't know how to hold the Bible, which way to hold it. They're teaching him how to pray. They're laying hands on him. He's looking at him funny, like, what is you? Get your hand off of me, dog. I don't let anybody touch it. Like this, they're teaching him Christianity, and it's been interesting to see. And but the church has always been there with these leaders, and and it doesn't mean they're righteous just because they supposedly stand, just because they have a Bible. Put it that way.
If you want to reach the masses, that is the way you reach the masses. I hate to say it, especially now with television and it's before you had radio and newspapers, and of course that's why. But now the way the media works, if you want to reach the masses, and when I talk the masses, we're talking worldwide. We're not even talking locally. That's how you do it. This is how you you have to be. It's
called media training too. Like, it's media training. You have to be taught. There's a lot of these new people who become viral, and they get an agent. They put them through media training. Again, telling them what to speak on. Don't say this. Don't you ever say that. Do this. This is how Christians act, in the Trump case. And it's just been interesting. I can see it, man.
Well, then, and then that you're saying, where was the jump off point where stopped being something spiritual and it became a money-making entertainment thing. And that's the problem right there where we run into where one thing it becomes it's transformed into something else. And unfortunately, when the people are looking for some of these leaders for spiritual guidance, hope, it's like, this is not the person you think is really going to give you what you should be believing in.
Yeah. You know what? And we'll tie this in with going back to what I said at the beginning. When the CEO, the head honcho from the company, came down and everybody was scared. He had a persona, and it's like, oh, this guy. And then I was able to meet him. And he was a regular man, but there was this persona, this reputation that preceded him. And we're responding to something that's not real. It wasn't real. It was made up. It was marketed. It was, be on your best behavior. He's coming, and he catches you doing something bad, he'll fire you. And I met him. He's a regular guy. There's no reason for me to fear or have this weird reverence or respect for this guy. No, this guy's an individual, just like everybody else.
To respect somebody because he's another human being or whatever. That's fine. But we kind of get put into this inferior. This this person, like you said, everybody's like, man, dot your I's and cross your T's and things like that.
Because you'll put up with stuff from those people that you wouldn't put up from normal people. Trump too, I hate bringing Trump into it, but it's a perfect symbol.
And I've seen things that got overlooked because these people had positions of power in the structure, the food chain of the organization. I'll tell you something, almost like what happened with Weinstein, where people knew what was going on, but they turned a blind eye. Why? Because, I'm not going to I don't want that person.
I don't know if it's discernment or what, but I remember in the 80s and 90s, like there was an overwhelming number of plots in movies and daytime drama where that was the plot. The model was trying to break out into Hollywood, trying to be an actress, and they sent her in a room with the old man, the old the guy who was the CEO, the executive, the writer. You need to see him. And then she comes out, she wipes her mouth, and he says, "You got the role. You got the part." There was so many movies that came out, and people were like, "Where did this come from? This wasn't nothing new. This was something that everybody knew about."
Back in when Hollywood started, what they called the casting couch, which was you wanted that part.
Where does that come from, right? Casting couch. There you go.
Yeah, that's from the very origins of when Hollywood. Even I think before the talkies, when there was silent film, that's really where you became famous, because before then it was only radio, and then the silent films. Yeah, that was like it was part and parcel. If you were going to be an actress out there, you were going to have to go to the casting couch if you wanted to part.
The Caesars. And all these other nations and the kings, what would they do before they would allow the young girls to marry a peasant or a warrior? What did they have to do? You had to come sleep with the king first.
Right.
You lost your virginity to the king. Right. Then you were sent out there into the world. This stuff is ancient, man. This stuff is not new.
Oh, what they call the droit de seigneur, which is if he was the lord over that, what you said, the peasants, fiefdom, depending on what age. And it was known that you were going to marry your wedding night, you would go to him. And of course, I would always put the doubt if she ever became pregnant, whose child it was. You remember that movie Braveheart, right, with Mel Gibson?
Yeah.
How they go and they marry in secret.
Mm-hmm.
He did it because if it became known they were going to marry, the guy was going to demand for her to go and spend, or give her virginity up to the Lord. And then of course, again, if she got pregnant, there would always be that fear. Well, whose child is it really? So that goes back hundreds of years. So
it's deep. I know there's nothing new under the sun. Literally, this stuff just repeats itself, and there's signs and symbols that are begging you to look a little bit closer and a little bit deeper. But we think it's new. We think this is all brand new, just for us.
It's the now thing. It's and despite everything, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh my God, humanity is doomed." I personally don't think that. If you look back at history, I think the value of human life has risen. We make a lot of mistakes, and there's still a lot of things we have to fix. But overall, I think we have become a lot better than we used to be. we've made improvements.
I think so too. I think the collective of the consciousness of the people is shifting, and so that's why it's polarizing the leaders. That's why this stuff isn't this stuff that we're not going to let it fly. We're not going to let the facial cream fly. Call it no more.
Exactly.
We need to boycott that facial cream. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a symbol, right? Because people are a rising tide rises all the ships, right? And so I think that enough people are waking up and choosing light, choosing love, meditating, seeking out spiritual practice, doing the inner work, finding healing, and just us as a people, it's contagious. Other people begin to do it. And so, there's definitely hope for humanity, and there's hope for us as individuals as well, to be a light in the midst of this darkness.
We are going to overcome. I truly believe it, despite sometimes we're fed a lot of stuff to alter our consciousness. I know that sometimes we become molded to do bad things. Overall, I do believe in the goodness of humans. I do. And I think that overall that's going to win the day, even though sometimes it doesn't look like it. Yeah.
I don't really go this route a lot and talk about the elites and the conspiracies and stuff, but I'm definitely well studied on it. And it changes the atmosphere a little bit at ending a show like this, It's like, we've been talking about all of this evil agenda and these demons and our leaders are involved with ancient spirits and child trafficking. It's like, how do you end it on a good note? Obviously, we're talking about how to end it where it's like there's hope for humanity, right? There's spiritual practice. There's just so much that's happening that's good. But how do you end it on a good note? There's been some episodes that at the end they were going good, and we got to the end. I'm like, oh man, I had to apologize to the audience because we got so.
You know what? I think that we're very powerful, and I think that at the end of the day, it's your individual choice. It's a choice you make. And sometimes people think, well, what do I matter? If I'm good, if I'm a good person, or I try to do the right thing, what does that matter? I'm just like one person out of billions.
Yeah.
And I beg to differ. I think that if you make that individual choice, we are all very powerful. Even within individuals making the right choice, then like you said, overall the outcome will be positive. It's just that it's not gonna. It's a daily thing. Sometimes we need time to pass a look backwards and say, by me doing the right thing, whether it's on a physical level or on a consciousness level for a group of people, I think the outcome will be positive.
That's why you keep a lot of animals around you.
Oh yeah, can you tell?
Because they're benevolent, because they love you. They're good.
Those are my hens that are clacking because they start going into egg laying right now. And hens, when they're going to start laying eggs, they might make a lot of weird sounds. And pretty soon they'll be looking at me through my window like, we want more food. Because they're always hungry, even though they're...
My little dog is so animated. He does all that crap. Like, I put a video of him on Instagram the other day. He makes these little noises and trying to communicate and talk and learning and stuff, and it's just so interesting how we communicate with them, and they're just a part of the family.
Oh yeah. So believe me, I know I kid that thing about me being the food source, but I know my animals, they're like they're in sync with me.
You said food, and the dog, he's waking up on the couch. He's so cute too.
That's one of them. I closed the door, but no. Matter of fact, when I'm working, my last book I dedicated to the 10 of them because they're my writing companions. They'll sleep under my feet, and then I'll read something to them, and they all look at me like, "That's great, that's beautiful." Yeah. It's like, oh, I love you guys.
Yeah, it's funny. Like my little dog, a lot of times he'll come lay under my feet, and I have a grounding mat, and he'll lay on it right up under my feet.
Yeah,
and it's like
exactly.
Hanging out in here when I'm doing it. But if the male lady comes, and he'll just start barking, it really makes sure it's just really loud in the sensitive mic. So, but our animals are awesome. But hey, go ahead and plug your website. People could check out the different podcasts that you have. And
MarlenePardo.com that talks about all my shows, my books, and I'm an author. Or MiamiGhostChronicles.com. Those are the two best websites that you can find, whether it's my work, who I am, the books I'm writing, and like I said, I have links there to either the videos on YouTube or the podcast on the different platforms that are out there. You can get a link depending, if you've got a certain platform that you listen to, that you use for your podcast, I've got links for the show from either of those websites.
Awesome. Good stuff. In the episode that we did should be available soon, right?
Yes. And I will send you an email with it as soon as it comes out.
Good stuff. Well, thanks so much, my friend. I really enjoyed it. We'll have to do it again.
Wonderful. Take care, darling.
Enjoy the conversation, my friend. Later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Marlene Pardo, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, her and her animals were here hanging out with us. Really good, man. We talked about a lot of stuff. I know I tried to wrap it up right over an hour. I tried to wrap it up about an hour and 15 minutes. And then we went another hour and 15 minutes on top of that. Mentioned the alien grays and talking about the time travelers and the government and the conspiracies and Trump and all that stuff. So again, we've been talking about Trump a lot lately. It's election season, and I don't want people to think I'm anti-Trump. So maybe next time we start talking about injustices in the government and using these people as frames of references, maybe I should use Biden. Maybe say his name a couple times just so people don't think that I'm a respecter of persons, like I have a dog in the fight, because I don't. Praying for Trump, praying for Biden, hope they repent, just joking. Thanks for everybody hanging out in the chat, man. We kept a lot of people for a long time here. We've been here over 2.5 hours now, almost. Shout out to everybody in the chat hanging out. I've seen your questions, I've seen your comments, and I tried to work some of them in there too. And some really good conversation. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to the couple people who are watching on DLive too. That's a platform that we're streaming on too. Don't get a lot of traffic over that way, but there's a couple people. I think Love Vibes shared it out and said it got a couple people. So shout out to everybody watching, listening, no matter what platform you're listening on. Shout out to all of you guys. You're awesome. One of the I was a part of the Hebrew Israelites for a particular time, several years, and one of what really stuck me is that they talked about the Illuminati. Like when I was studying the Illuminati and New World Order and all these secret societies, like they openly talked about this stuff on the street corners. Like they would set up and kind of have church on the street, and they would talk about George Bush being in secret societies and all of this stuff, and they'd have diagrams and pretty much all the stuff you see on YouTube videos now, on the exposed videos. They did it on the street corner, and they literally had these huge professional looking diagrams and a plane flying into the Twin Towers and George Bush, and I mean they just had scriptures that kind of correlated with that stuff. And I really liked the fact that they were calling this wickedness out in the streets. They were crying out for the injustices of the people and letting people know what was going on. And so that really drew me into that movement and what they were about at the time. This was like in 2008 or so. And but I remember one thing that one of the leaders used to say, because it was really big on injustices and calling out stuff that the government was doing, calling out stuff that, 9/11 and all of this kind of stuff, which was big at the time. But one thing that they said is like, it was like a reward. It's like, man, when you get to heaven, you're going to be known as someone who stood up against Babylon the Great. That you stood up against injustices and you prophesied against this wicked nation that was doing wickedness and stuff like that. Like all of this stuff that's going on, that we're going to be rewarded for calling it out. But for me, the whole conspiracy thing gets to where like it exists and and there's no end to it. You guys know I just put out a snippet talking about how conspiracy theories can mess you up, and because there's no end to it. Like, what if there was an end to it and you reach the end of the conspiracy? There's going to be more. And then there's going to be more. And then when you prove it, in the world we live in, everything is true for them that believe. All of it's real, right? And going out of your way to put, you lose sleep over this stuff, man. It's scary. It really is. But once you learn that, look, man, these people, there's some wicked people out there. I know it's hard when you find out that your leaders are wicked or your pastors, sleeping around, people that you've looked up to and you've put on this pedestal. And when that thing comes crashing down, man, it's very hard. But there's no end to the injustices that these people do. Again, they lie to each other. They lie to God. What makes you think that they won't lie to you? And I don't believe anything that that I see through the television, right? And I don't think we should, but just to know, have a frame of reference for evil, man. Have a frame of reference for darkness. Their darkness, yeah, but your own darkness, man. Have a frame of reference to know that it's real, that it exists. It's not all love and light. That's why we choose love and light, is because darkness exists. It's because the day is wicked. That's why we make a conscious decision to try to uplift, to try to inspire, to try to breed creativity, you know what I'm saying, and pull greatness out of people and prophesy love and light to people. Like, that's why we do it, because the day is dark. And we know that these things exist. So we have to counteract that stuff. We have to counterbalance. And the good thing, I believe, is that it is catching on, that people are waking up, that people are choosing love. Whether you're in religion or you're in Islam or a Hindu or lack of or a witch, it doesn't matter. Like, people know that we need a change. And a change isn't religion. Most of you have been around to a lot of different religion. You tried Buddhism, you tried this, tried Christianity, and none of it worked. But love works at the end of the day, and love knows all those modalities, and it doesn't matter. Love is not a respecter of persons, right? Again, the homeless person doesn't care, if you're filming them when you give them a $10 or not. You gave it to them, right? It helped, and just having that frame of reference, and not being overwhelmed, and like that's all you're into, and that's all you're looking for, and it's all you talk about. This stuff sells. For sure, we could, do all kind of shows about this, and it would catch on a lot quicker. Might get pulled from YouTube, but it would definitely get a lot more eyes to it. And some people are waking up, and everybody's at different levels. Again, it was 2008 when I was looking this stuff up, man, and really big into it. So, there were several years that were really weird years of just research and documentaries and videos and zooming in on handshakes and all that, knowing these people are not who they say they are. But once you know that, man, it's up to you to bring the light in, to be the light of the world, and do your own inner healing and get that stuff healed too. Your mind and how powerful the mind is, and you start believing and seeing things that you create because it was sold to you. And you don't even know it. Through psychology, through Freud, through people who are scripting this stuff, and they know what to say, they know what to wear. And I think I'm reiterating just the podcast that I did the other day when I talked about conspiracy theories, and I actually made a snippet on YouTube if you haven't heard that, but go check it out. Anyway, choose love, choose light, man. Be the light. You're the only Bible that some people will read, right? You're the only form of God that they will only see. So you just got to be that to people, and good overcomes evil at the end of the day, and you choose what side you're going to be on. So, if that's ranting, if that's rambling, it's my truth. So it's not like I'm scared to talk about it or I won't talk about it. We talk about this stuff. There's some interesting theories, but to say that I never said any of that stuff's fact. I don't know. Because I think that's the biggest slap in the face with the conspiracy crew, is to call a conspiracy something that you're claiming is true, but it's not. Alex Jones did it with Sandy Hook and got in a lot of trouble. Got pulled on. He's got lawsuits out the wazoo. He's finished. They got him. And it really muddied the waters on the conspiracies that were true. They were really going on. So they would find some of the far out stuff that got people in trouble, and some of the stuff that everything isn't a conspiracy. And even if it was, choose your battles wisely. Choose your battles wisely. Be careful. I want to say happy birthday to 2 people in our community, 2 friends. I don't know if it's today for both of them, but shout out to Amanda Ferris, Extraterrestrial. Happy birthday to you, and happy birthday to Adam Starseed Bay. Love you guys. You guys are awesome, and thank you guys for showing up, doing what you're doing, and trying to counteract the darkness with your light as well, because you guys are the light of the world. You're awesome. Thank y'all. So that's the end of this podcast. If you want to find out more about what we've been talking about, check out my book, Spirit Realm. I talk about the fallen angels, their agenda, the books taken out of the Bible, which exposes their agenda, all that kind of stuff. It's all in my book, Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God, Foreword by Jordan Maxwell. Check it out if you haven't had a chance to get that yet. Support me on Patreon if you believe in my work, if you believe in this podcast. Anywhere from $1 a month really helps us to keep this thing going. This stuff gets super expensive, and I'm thankful that there's people out there who believe in me and want to show up financially to support. It means the world. Any amount of giving, any amount of sharing, any amount of retweeting or clicking the like button, as some people are saying in the chat here, like it all helps. It all matters. But you get extra stuff. You get my music. You get our Thursday night School of the Mystics, which is tonight, 7 p.m. Central. If you want to hang out, make sure you do that. Also, our Discord is available as well. Hop in our Discord chat. Say what's up. Give me a ring on the Discord. Tell me what's up. Occult Priestess says, hope the last thing in Pandora's box. Yeah, right. You get to the bottom of Pandora's box and pick up the last thing. That's awesome. Yeah, who knocked the locks off of Pandora's box? So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Love you guys. We're going to do it again. I promise.
Your way is so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.